Since most of you are not here, let me show you something interesting. Did you notice this year's handout? I mean, the cover page of the handout, and there is something over there. AI. I deliberately got it made over the handout so that every day when you open it, you get reminded about automation, technology, as well as use of machines in industries. So one of your friend told me, in fact, he told me yesterday that Telangana State Services exam happened, and here's the question. So your friend gave me this question. It happened on October 21st.
No, exam is from October. The last day of this exam.
Achha. But recently only. Let's have a look at the question. Question number 2. Indian manufacturing sector is shifting from industry 3.0 to 4.0. We have already done that. Elaborate the advantage and challenges involved in adoption of industry 4.0. We have exactly done the advantage and disadvantage. And we used the data of IMF, etc. We talked about economic survey. Very good morning. And we divided our answer into 2 parts. So in this question, you had to start writing from industry 1.0 basically. You had to write a little bit about 1.0, that the evolution of industrialization happened from 1.0, 2.0, then 3. Then you have to say that currently we are entering 4. This should be the introduction of the answer. And then you have to write that according to IMF, it brings both challenges as well as opportunities. Then you write the advantages, disadvantages. Then you conclude by saying that for us to be ready, we have to be careful about structural unemployment and technological unemployment. And we have to adopt it in the right sectors. Remember, we took the example of traffic management, healthcare, etc., etc. So this is how questions are asked in state services as well as UPSC, not much difference. So I'm expecting this year a lot of questions from this across exams in India. That's why deliberately this year I kept the cover page like that. Because it's coming in the newspaper every day. Anybody who reads newspaper will tell you that, okay, this is very important. Now, second thing is, whatever we are doing in the class, it might look little extra, some of the things that, why this? But why this wala points are very important, because these are the points which are asked in the exam. The standard points like components of industries, nobody cares. But what is the latest method of industrialization? Everybody cares. But to reach there, we have to cover a journey. Like in inflation, you would have seen. Yesterday, one of your friends showed me in the class the article which came in Indian Express. I read it finally. Got a little time, read it, and realized we have already done that. So if you read those articles which came yesterday related to food inflation, they are doing a comparison of last 7, 8 years, 10 years. So then you find that it's not difficult. Same lines that we have done in the class, almost similar things. So again, I would say that this subject is slightly lengthy actually. It is true, it is lengthy. Why? Because it has 3-4 things, which is not true for other subjects. I'll give an example. Basics, let's compare polity and economy. We should not, but just to give you an idea, polity and economy. In polity, there are basics. In economy, there are basics. You have to do NCRTs in polity, you have to do NCRTs in economics. Okay, done. You have to do some reference material in polity, reference material in NCRT, done. Current events in polity, current events in economy, done. Mathematical part converted into theory in economics, not there in polity. Like demand, supply, equilibrium, price, extra. Now let me show you the most deadly thing. Economic survey and budget, IMF, World Bank in economics, not there in polity. So if for polity preparation you need this time, for economics you need this time. Because the content is heavy and we can't do anything about it. One thing can be done, leave the content. Right? That's what most people do, and that's dangerous. It gives a delusion that we are done. But then exam will give a reality check. We don't want all those shocks. So what do? We prepare like this. Okay, let's prepare. So, and unfortunately this year, what happened is 2 budgets, untimely economic survey. Otherwise things would have been slightly different. But then untimely economic survey, and that too government starting afresh after 10 years. So economic survey is also heavy. So you will see eventually in every lecture that I take with you, if I am taking, let's say 4 lectures in a topic example average, so 1 lecture is especially because of economic survey and budget, which could have been easily avoided had it been a normal economic survey. But it's not a normal economic survey this year. It's a survey which is going to be there for next 10 years because it's a roadmap. So the content is heavy. The only thing that we can do is make the content easy, make the content more digestible. So that's what we are trying to do. But yes, content will be there because compromises in this kind of subject, dangerous. And if solid preparation in polity and economics, especially polity, economics, geography, I mean, nobody can stop you in UPSC. It's not possible to stop you. Because these are the 3 subjects which are also called as core subjects, including history. These are the core subjects of UPSC. I mean, if you are really good in this, or even if you are average in all this, and good in really one of them, like economy, polity, history, you have to be brilliant in one, average in all the rest of the subjects. You go through the exam. There is no problem. That's the funda. You don't need to be exceptional in everything. Be exceptional in at least one subject, where you are almost unbeatable. There you should tell yourself that I have to become unbeatable in this. And I tell you, this formula really works. I have tried this formula in so many exams. It always works. Be unbeatable in one, be little above average in rest of the subjects. See the magic. But if you try to become the best in everything, in fact, there will be a problem, because then expectations will be almost impractical and it won't be possible. And we don't have to become best in everything. We have to find our own path, that okay, in this thing I have to be the good. All right, so now all of us are here. Very good morning to all of you, those who have joined. I was showing this question from Telangana State Services, that how to answer this question. Now for today, let's start with the first dictation. Please write reflation. 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 And you just have to draw this. Reflation. Cool. Please write. Achha, let me ask you a question, because you always give very smart answer to difficult questions, so a difficult question for you. So can you please tell me, in reflation, what are the policies that we follow? Expansionary monetary policy or expansionary fiscal policy, or both can be followed? Brilliant answer. Both can be followed. Because if you reduce the tax, economy will recover. If you increase the money supply, if you provide more currency to people by lowering the interest rate, then also economy will recover. So absolutely very good answer, because if your economy is here, bottom, very bad shape, how do you go from here to here? Reduce the rates. People will take more loan. And by people, what are we trying to say? Who takes more loan? First is business. Investment will happen. And second, consumers. And they take more loans. Very good idea. Good answer, by the way. And if you reduce taxes, if you increase subsidies, if you increase government expenditure, these are called expansionary fiscal policy. That's your expansionary monetary policy. Both the policies can be used to take the economy out of this recessionary phase, and reflation will happen. So one of the questions which I have seen in UPSC, you just answered that question. Which of the following policies can be used for reflation? This was the question in UPSC, very old question, outdated question, because earlier they used to ask these kind of questions only, and people used to qualify and say, right? Now they are not asking such base, because even you without studying also answered this question. See, look at the level. So every generation level changes. We have to accept this. This is biological. So your generation, you play with these ideas. You start here. The previous generation, they used to end here. That finally we have learned reflation. You are saying, this is a start. Tell me what next. So guys, there you can use both expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy. But again, second question to you, difficult question. Now, can you please tell me that what is the right word to describe reflation? Can we say that through reflation we are trying to rebounce or re-stimulate the economy, or we are trying to keep the economy stable? Re-stimulate. Brilliant. Because the economy is also already hit the rock bottom. There is nothing below this. It's finished. Now we are trying to re-stimulate, which means restart the engine of the economy. And to re-stimulate, you need these two policies. Now, what do you exactly re-stimulate? There are few things we are trying to re-stimulate. Yes, your friend is saying, sir, animal spirits are alive. Absolutely correct. Now, so we are trying to revive the animal spirits. What are we trying to re-stimulate? 3-4 things, very old news, macroeconomics, 3-4 things. First, we are trying to re-stimulate growth. Second, consumption-led growth. What else? Production, consumption, yes, that leads to GDP. If GDP rises, what else will happen? Employment. And what happened here about the prices? Here, deflation, fall. What are we trying to do here? Revive the price. Because if price falls too much, producers are highly demotivated. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to increase GDP. Good answer, by the way. Increase employment, and we have to increase the price as well. That's what we are trying to stimulate. That's your reflation. Dekho how easy it was. Now, if you don't use these things to define reflation, then answer will be highly incomplete. It will be generic answer. And UPSC would not like to value these answers. UPSC will say, yeah, you are good, but you need more time. So that's why when we prepare for these exams and prepare for these subjects like polity and economy, one has to be more precise. In geography also, one has to be very, very precise. No beating around the bush. So let's write, let's use the words and create a nice definition. 100% yes. They are the components of GDP. So please write. वैसे यहाँ पे देखो, through this investment is captured and through this consumption is captured. Please write. Reflation is a process. Reflation is a process under which expansionary fiscal policy, now write the shortcut, EFP, expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy, EMP, expansionary fiscal policy, expansionary monetary policy. You should start using this, not in the exam, but in the class. In this, expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy are utilized to stimulate the economy, in terms of GDP, employment, and prices. Yes, Harsh, I showed you the connection yesterday, correct. Prices. Please put a full stop, guys. And what did I tell you yesterday? I told you yesterday something about Phillips curve, that in a country like India, it's very difficult to use Phillips curve, but at least we can use one small part of the Phillips curve which says, if you increase, very good morning, if you increase the prices a little bit, 2%, 3%, it motivates the producer. That's what we are doing here. We are actually increasing the price just a little bit so as to motivate the producer. Otherwise, every producer will go out of this country and they will say, why should I stay? Because I'm not getting motivation. And it's a 1 minute decision for a big producer of India to leave the country and go to some other country. That's called flipping. So to prevent them from mass exodus, we have to tell them, okay, increase the price by 2%, 3%. We will see more details today. Please put a full stop. Now we have to do one question for prelims and mains both. So, very good morning, bacho. Back here, why am I not able to do it? Okay, so no problem. One of your friends is saying that because of pollution in Delhi, I have come back home. I will attend the lecture offline after this. Wonderful, no problem. Okay, fine. So, please write a question. Discuss the general impacts of inflation. Discuss the general impacts of inflation over the economy and society. General impacts of inflation over the economy and society. Now, bacho, again, I would like to reiterate this. I know that I have spoken it so many times, but I'll continue to speak it till the time we are having the lectures, so that this fits in your mind forever. Studying a subject for knowledge is different. Studying a subject for competitive exam is different. In a competitive exam, one needs to know what exactly to study and at what point you have to take a pause. That okay, I don't have to go deeper than this. And in a competitive exam, one should know which words to use. For example, in reflation, we use the word stimulating the economy. But in a generic sense, in terms of knowledge, we might have used the word that we are trying to revive the economy. No, revival is different, stimulating is different. So here, stimulating would mean that we are trying to churn the different things for a very long time, which means that you are trying to invest for a long time. And when you say bounce back, it could be one-time investment. But stimulating would mean that you are trying to attack 4 or 5 things for a long time. So invest, invest. In cycles you are investing, in cycles you are investing. That's stimulating. So that's why the words are different. Now similarly, wherever somebody will ask you what is the impact of inflation, if you are not preparing for UPSC, the answer could be very simple, that inflation hurts the society, this, that, simple things, generic answer. But for UPSC, the moment this question is asked, that what are the general impacts of inflation over society and economy, you have to write these points. And if the examiner feels that these points are not mentioned, फिर तो marks will be deducted, because it is a competitive exam. So the direction of your answer exactly has to be this, nothing more, nothing less. So we will start from the first point. In fact, without showing this, Pere, let me demonstrate a few things through some currency, and let me ask you questions. Dictation will be the 5 minutes job here, but the understanding requires at least 10 minutes, so let's do the understanding. Now see this, guys. Zara nahi Ayush, you haven't missed much, you have just missed like one paragraph space. So guys, if I have 100 rupees, think about it. Now suppose that I am a worker who is working in a construction site. Alright, basic example, through this we will understand all this. Now please pay attention, okay, 5 minutes. So suppose that I am a worker who is working in a construction site and I have just received 110 rupees wages because I work for, let's say, 2 hours only. Only 2 hours I work, remaining time I sleep. So 2 hours I have worked and I have got 110 rupees as wages. I am very happy, I came back home. I took this 10 rupees, I said this is my savings in the pocket. Right? And then this is the money which I have to spend. Why? Because we are a developing country, and when the income is low, a majority of the money will be spent on food, and remaining part will be on health, education, traveling, all these things. So this money gone. I have a big family, I have to take care of the entire family. So this money spent, finished. After I spent this money, then I realize, oh, I have 10 rupees. What do I do with this 10 rupees? I take it out and I buy a government bond. I can buy that. Or I can buy mutual fund. I can buy an insurance scheme to protect myself, which means that I can use this money to buy things in the nature of investment, or I can buy a little bit of gold when I accumulate this little bit of gold. But now what has happened is, everything is fine today. Today was okay. But now, next day has come, which is tomorrow. Again, I have received the same salary. I've seen the magic, same salary. This time, when I go in the market, I keep this 10 rupees in my pocket. When I go in the market, I am told that the price of rice, wheat, cereal, fruits, vegetable, milk, everything has increased. Increased by 10%. Remember our story, the inflation story. Did you watch that story, that lecture, where I told the inflation story, 10% increase in price of everything? Yeah. So 10% increase in price of everything. Remember first day when I taught you inflation, there I told you that imagine the price of everything is rising by 10%. Milk is becoming costly by 10%. Why? Same story. Yes, everything is higher in terms of price by 10%. So I go in the market, I say milk, fruits, vegetable. Now the people who are selling those to me tell me, sir, 100 rupees not enough, give 110. I'll say, come on, yesterday it was 100. They say, no, 10% rise in price. I say, okay, with a very heavy heart, I give this 10 rupees also. Gone. So now can you please tell me, during inflation, first question to you, during inflation, the expenditure rises or falls? Rises. If you have to maintain same standard of living, expenditure will rise. And we are assuming that we are maintaining same standard of living. If I have to eat a sandwich, I have to eat a sandwich. Otherwise, I won't be alive. To be alive, I have to do certain things. I am doing that. So during inflation, what happens? Expenditure rises. What happens to savings? There is a big hole in the pocket. Right? So that also falls. And a hole in the pocket ultimately leads to hole in the emotions. Right? So now I want to buy mutual fund. Will I be able to buy mutual fund? Impossible. So what will happen to investment? Down. I have just demonstrated. If there is any dispute, recall the story. If there is no money in your pocket, what will you invest? As simple as that. So it's not complicated. We complicate it by thinking in terms of formula. But if that happens, I'll again ask that question. There is no money in my pocket. How will I invest? Where is the question of but and if? But there is no money in the pocket, finished. Investment gone. Okay, next question. Now, imagine that same rice, wheat, cereal, fruits, vegetable which I am buying for 100 rupees, now it has become 110. But I don't want to spend 110. I just want to spend 100 because this 10 which I am saving, I want to keep it. So now in this 100 rupees, when the prices have increased, can I buy the same quantity of fruits, vegetable, rice, wheat, cereals, milk? Or the quantity will come down? Come down, quantity will fall. So my living standard will rise, remain same or fall? Obviously falls. So see, step by step, try to understand. And whenever you are confused in life, just take out two currencies, put it in your hand and start to argue. That if the prices are rising and you are not ready to spend more, then with the same currency, the quantity of goods and services that you will purchase goes down. So standard of living actually is compromised. We have covered most of it, see, purchasing power. So earlier, with 100 rupees, I could buy this much. Now with 100 rupees, because prices are high, I can buy this much. So the purchasing power of currency actually drops. Because with the same currency, you can't buy the same amount of goods and services. So if somebody will ask you what happens because of inflation, we have to imagine inflation is already here. Then you have to say that purchasing power rises or falls, goes up or down? Down. Standard of living? Down. This we'll see in some time. Savings? Falls. Investment? We have just seen that. Income inequality. Let's talk about this. Now see. Oh wow, you already know it. Great. But let me share a slightly different perspective on income inequality. Result is same that you said, but yeah, it widens. But the way I demonstrate is slightly different because I'm going to use this same method when I teach you poverty and inequality in the class. Lorentz curve, Gini coefficient, measurement of poverty, Thomas Piketty, yes, sir. When I teach you all these things, we'll use the same funda. So let me demonstrate that. Now imagine, this is the, let's say, income of Mr. Narayan Murthy. Heavy currency, see, that's the income of Mr. Murthy, he is here. Now this is the income of a Manrega worker, he is here. So the gap between Manrega worker and Mr. Murthy is exactly this. Now see the magic, this is the gap. Now what happens is, inflation happens. And in inflation, you know, things are costly. So whenever things are costly, what would happen? Mr. Murthy would have to pay a higher price to buy 1 cup of coffee. Manrega worker also has to pay higher price to buy 1 cup of coffee. Which means that earlier Mr. Murthy was just paying 100 rupees to buy a cup of coffee. And not 100, can't take 100, let's say 10 rupees to buy a cup of coffee. Mr. Murthy was paying 10 rupees to buy a cup of coffee, a very costly cup of coffee. So now Mr. Murthy will have to pay 11 rupees for that coffee. Earlier 10, now 11. And this is the money Mr. Murthy has. So if he pays 11, it's heavy on him. He has paid extra. He goes down a little bit. Now let's talk about Manrega worker. He was also buying a cup of coffee, but now he has to pay 1 rupee extra. His income is so low that if he pays 1 rupee extra from this to buy a cup of coffee, his other demands will be compromised. Now he can't travel. Now he can't buy the medicine. He can't pay the school fee. He can't pay the fee of a doctor if somebody falls sick. Why? Because from his limited income, low income, he is paying more for the cup of coffee. So it looks as if Mr. Murthy fell from here to here. But this Manrega guy, he has to make so much of compromise because of that extra 1 rupee he is paying for coffee that he falls here. So earlier he was above poverty line. It might be possible that he falls below poverty line. So Mr. Murthy also fell. Manrega guy also fell. But when somebody has thousands of crores in the pocket and they have to pay little extra to somebody, they fall like this. But when somebody is a Manrega worker and they have to pay little extra, they don't fall like this. It looks as if they fall like this. Gap increases. So they always say that inflation has a deeper impact over the income wage earners. So if you are a salaried class, the problem will be your salary will not increase every day. But because of inflation, your expenses will increase. No boss or no company in the world, including Government of India. If you work for Government of India, you will see that dearness allowance is not given every year, but inflation rises every year. So no boss in the world increases the salary every year or every day. Inflation will rise every day, but they won't even talk to you. So talk to the Government of India and tell them inflation is happening, increase my salary. They'll say, beta, wait for 4 years. So that is how the salary is increased, but inflation rises every year. So if you are a salaried class, right, so which means that you depend on wages and salaries, your salary will be fixed, but inflation will come and everything will become costly, your standard of living will go down. But if you are a business class, there is a hope. Why there is a hope? Suppose you are a business community and you are manufacturing a product like this pen. Inflation has happened. Your living standard is also compromised. But what will you do? You will do the cost cutting in manufacturing of the pen. Right? You will do some cost cutting here. Maybe release some workers, maybe reduce the quality a little bit, change the quality of the plastic, etc. And then you start to sell your product, which means through selling the product, you can maintain your living standard. because there is a decision which is there in your hand to change the composition, to change the cost, to change the quality. These are your decisions. You can change these things and you can still have the same standard of living because you are doing your own business. But if you are a salaried class, there is nothing in your hand. Salary is fixed, everything is fixed, you can't do anything about it. So they say that there are two classes of people in the society who are impacted very badly because of inflation. One is the salaried class and one is the people who have low level of income because they have to make huge compromises. So two classes of people suffer because of inflation. Everybody suffers, but the suffering by these two is deeper. Business community also suffers because for them price of raw material increases. But then they will innovate and they would try to do something by changing the quality of the product, etc., to keep their standards same. And if you are holding too much of wealth, when inflation happens, you are hardly affected. Why? I have land. Earlier its value was 10 lakh rupees. Inflation has happened. Now its value is 20 lakh rupees. I'll sell half the land and enjoy my life. But this can also be there. So that's why they say that if you are a business class or if your income level is very high, you have too many assets, then during inflation also you are able to maintain certain standards. Please write. Number one, inflation leads to decline. Inflation leads to decline in purchasing power. Correct, but then yes, there is a problem. Problem is that if you look at CPI IW, it was around 5%. So the compensation given by the bosses or the employees will never match the inflation. Nobody would do that, whether it is government or anybody. Chalo likho, please write. What did you write? Inflation? Purchasing power, great. Please put a full stop. Number two, point number two, these are short points. Number two, standard of living is compromised during inflation. Standard of living is compromised during inflation. Third, expenditure rises and savings decline, expenditure rises and savings decline during inflation. Next, because of rising expenses and falling savings, has a tendency to decline. Please put a full stop. Why did you write tendency to decline? Under only one situation, investment will not decline. If prices are rising, but imagine that I am reducing my living standard. I am saying it's okay. Let me compromise my living standard, but let me keep my savings so that I can invest in mutual fund. Fir to nothing will happen. So it can take any turn. So our assumption is that people want to maintain their living standards. So your expenses, that's why I made you write that during inflation when expenses are rising, savings are falling, then investment has a tendency to decline. That's why you see all the three are written together. I never made you write a single point saying that investment will decline. We don't know, because suppose be very careful about these points. Now suppose that 100 rupees is my expenses on 1 liter of milk, example, and this was my savings. 10 rupees saving, this is my expense. Now inflation has happened, and during inflation 1 liter of milk is costing me 110. Now I'm confused what to do. So what will I do? I'll say, okay, wait, what to do? Okay, compromise on the milk. So I will spend only 100 rupees. I will not get 1 liter of milk. I'll get less than 1 liter of milk, compromised. But this 10 rupees which I am getting, I'll still save. And I'll say, let me invest this in mutual fund. So at a very broader perspective, very broader level, unless you compromise your living standard, you won't be able to invest. So what have we assumed in our analysis? That normally people don't want to compromise because basic necessities have to be fulfilled. So we won't buy land, we won't buy houses, these are the things. Next point, please, right? Inflation, next point. Inflation has a deeper impact. Inflation has a deeper impact over salaried class compared to business class. Next point. Inflation has a deeper impact. Next point is also like that only. Inflation has a deeper impact over people with low income compared to people with high income. Please write a note, bacho. This note is something which you already said it before I explained. Please write the note. Inflation has a tendency to increase income inequality. Inflation has a tendency to increase income inequality in the society. Inflation has a tendency to increase income inequality in the society. Next point. Now, how many points have you written, Mujo?
6 points.
We'll write the 7th point, but before that, one explanation. Have a look at the board, please. This explanation you have to understand in the class, otherwise there will be problem. Now see, and you have to understand it exactly like this. There is no other way. So please follow this method only so that you are never wrong. Now see, what happens is, imagine that that's you. You are the kid and that's me. Now what I do is, in today's lecture I tell you that kids, let's go out for coffee after the class near Vajiram only. But then there is a problem. So then I inform you that, see, we can go out for coffee, but I am not carrying 100 rupees cash. And there Paytm doesn't work. Right, so I'm not carrying cash, Paytm does not work. Because the person who is selling the coffee, he says that he does not want Paytm. And he says, why to invest in that machine, blah, blah, all those things. And he says, only cash accepted 100 rupees. Now see. So one of you being very innocent, you did not tell me that you are having only 100 rupee ka note. So suppose normally you carry more than 100 rupees because you travel, you come for classes, let's say 200-300 rupees you carry in your pocket. But one of you are carrying only 100 rupees, but you want me to have the coffee because you are a kid, innocent kid. So you did not tell me this, that you have just one currency, but you told me that, sir, I can give it to you. And you return it later on. I said, okay, done. Deal done. So that kid is you. You have got only 100 rupees. I'm written slow in this story so that you absorb. To my online friends, all right, story is fine, going fine so far, no? So you are this kid, you are having just 100 rupee currency, no, just one currency, and that's me. You said, okay, sir, we are ready to give it to you so that we can buy the coffee. And you are not telling that you are compromising your coffee. So we all go to the cafe, and then you tell me that, sir, I am coming, I have some work, I have to make a phone call. Right, so you stay a little back, and that's your cafe. So I reached the cafe along with the rest of the class. But one of you are staying little behind in the pretext of making a phone call. So now what has happened is, there is this nice cup of coffee, so which you compromise. I took this cup of coffee and I took your 100 rupees as well. And that's how I have the coffee. So satisfaction after having consumed, I have already achieved that. I am so happy because I have had the coffee. And now in the evening, I call you and I tell you, kid, please come. You will say, why, sir? So I said, nothing, I want to return your currency. You said, it's okay, you can return it tomorrow. I said, no, today itself you take it. But then I got to know that you did not have the coffee. So I'm insisting that please meet me in the evening today. This is morning time. So I'm insisting in the evening, please meet so that I can return your money and you can have this cup of coffee because I already had it. But you postpone your consumption, mind you. So who are you? You are the creditor here. Who is a creditor? Who gives loan? And who is a debtor? Who takes loan? So now we meet in the evening. The moment we meet in the evening, what we do is we go to the same cafe. बताओ कॉफी वही रह गया. So we go to the same cafe and this time I tell you that kid, please take your 100 rupees and please fulfill your consumption requirement. You said no problem, thank you so much. So that's the 100 rupees which I am returning. See, that's your 100 which I am returning. See, from here the money came here, money returned. Now we both are going to the cafe so that you can have the coffee. We reach there and the cafe wala person says, price of the coffee 110. Wow. So now what has happened? I just returned your 100 and you are not having 10 rupees extra in your pocket. Will you be able to buy the coffee? Of course not. And 3/4 cup of coffee not available. Right? So coffee and emotions are pretty much similar. 3/4 not available, either full or zero. So 110. Now what will you do? Compromise. I am also feeling bad, you are also feeling bad. Ruk jao. What has happened? Now we are feeling bad. What has just happened to us? Inflation happened to us. What does it tell you about inflation? It tells you two things about inflation. It says, listen to it very carefully. It says, whenever somebody gives money, for example, this person gave money to this person during normal times. But if the money is returned during inflation, this is during inflation the money was returned. If inflation was not there, the coffee cup price would have been 100 only. But now when the money is returned, it is inflation. So who loses and who wins? Who gets into advantageous position, the creditor or debtor? Advantage. Debtor. Why? Because debtor has already consumed the cup of coffee. He has derived the satisfaction. But the person who actually helped the debtor, that person is suffering. Are you understanding this problem? Too much of emotions. Right. So now he is suffering because he gave money to this person by sacrificing his current consumption. So whenever you sacrifice your consumption and you help somebody, there is no problem. But if that person returns the favor during inflation, dangerous. Because whatever he is returning you in terms of money, 100 rupees, is not good enough to buy the same cup of coffee. Because the purchasing power of money has come down. Earlier 100 rupees could purchase one cup of coffee, now 110 rupees is required for this coffee. So he took 100 and he had a cup of coffee, no problem, everything fine. But when he returned the same currency to you, now you can't have it. So you lose, he gains. But when does that happen? During inflation. So UPSC might ask you a question that which of the following is the best time to return the EMI of the bank or to return somebody's loan? Normal time or inflationary time? Inflation. During inflation, if you return somebody's money, that person will suffer because you will return exactly 100. This person goes to the market, can't buy a cup of coffee, and then will derive sadistic pleasure. This is called sadistic pleasure. Relative gain. So when you give 100 rupees to the person, you start to say, hey, now go and have coffee. And then take a telescope and start watching. So, are you enjoying your coffee? Right? He is saying, no, he's so innocent. He already felt, your friend is feeling all this. So, no, we are not bringing other things. Rate of interest, etc. we are not bringing. Because if you bring other variable, there are two things in economics. One is called as partial equilibrium, one is called general equilibrium. Remember when I taught you entire inflation, I told you, if RBI prints more currency, there might be inflation. The moment you bring other things, if RBI, listen to it, if RBI prints more currency, Now people have more cash in the hand, but industries are also producing goods and services, then there will be no inflation. So to understand the impact of something over something, we have to keep rest everything constant. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand. Just for example, when a doctor gives you medicine, the doctor assumes that you are not going to consult 5 more doctors. You will consult only one doctor and doctor gives you the medicine. But if the doctor feels after taking medicine from it, this person is going to meet 4 more doctors and this person is going to consume medicines from 4 or 5 people at one go, imagine what will happen. So, whenever we are trying to find the impact that when somebody returns your money during inflation, what will happen? Every other factor that is coming to your mind, kill that factor, not required. Because the moment you bring it, this will not hold. So this is called partial equilibrium. One day when I teach you entire banking system and capital market, along with balance of payment, banking, capital market, balance of payment, that day we will be in a position to understand general equilibrium, which means that suppose that this person is returning the money. Now imagine the rate of interest, because when he gave money to him, he will charge some rate of interest. So then rate of interest will start to play in this picture, etc., etc. Other variables will come. What if this person has not increased the price of the coffee, right? All those things will come, but not today. Today will be simple, later on complicated. This is partial equilibrium. There is a name for all this. It is called partial equilibrium. Okay, fine. So that's your impact. So please write. Next point. During inflation, absolutely. In general, the debtors might, look at the word might, the debtors might make a gain, whereas the creditors might lose. The creditors might lose. Fine. Now, there is one extra thing. How many points? 7? Yes. 8 point. Please write 8th point. This is one extra thing which I want to bring today only, but more explanation later on, but today just a basic thing. See. Point number 8, okay? So, correct, Harsh. So this is a very weird way of understanding inflation, but it helps. I told you, right, anything for competitive exam which helps me to get good marks, I will use that method. Now imagine guys, this is the last point now, but then after this we'll enter into some technicalities. A simple last point. But we'll carry this point for a long time. Now this is 100 rupee currency note, imagine this 100 rupee currency note. Now imagine that inflation comes here. Now think about it. Imagine that inflation comes. So you have to imagine inflation as if inflation is something like this. You have to imagine that inflation is something like this. Why? Because inflation has a habit of eating currencies. So you have to imagine that another name of inflation is, I'll show you why it is important. Another name of inflation is currency eater. Yeah, you have to imagine all this. So I'll tell you the benefit of this. This will help you to answer so many questions at ease. So what is this? This is a currency eater. Its technical name is inflation. Let's see how it acts over the economy. Life will become so easy with this. There is a 100 rupee currency note. Inflation comes here, which means currency eater comes. He looks at the currency and says, wow, 100 rupees. I want to eat it. But then everybody has a fixed hunger. Right, people's hunger is fixed. So for example, I can eat one sandwich, I'll eat only one sandwich, I'll not eat 20. So every time you see this currency eater, what will happen is, the hunger will be, for example, let's say 10%. This currency eater 10%, there is one more currency eater, which is this. So this is a baby currency eater. Its hunger is, let's say, 5%. So but now today we are facing this one, let's say for example. So what will the currency eater do? Look at the currency and say, wow, 100 rupee currency, I'm going to eat 10% out of it. So what will it do? The size of this currency, it will come down, and what will happen? This part which we saw. Remember this part, that's your 10%. So that's your 90, rupees 90, and that's rupees 10. So what does the currency eater do? The moment it comes, consumes. 10 rupees gone. That's currency eater. Which means that the job of inflation is to reduce the purchasing power of a currency by a certain percentage. What does it mean? It means that if using 100 rupees earlier, you could buy 1 kg, let's say tomatoes. Now there are two meanings of it. Look carefully. What is the meaning of currency eater? Using 100 rupees, you could buy 1 kg of tomatoes. Now using 100 rupees, two meanings. Inflation. Using 100 rupees, you can buy 900 grams. That's the first meaning. The second meaning is more dangerous. The second meaning is, if you want to buy 1 kg, then you will have to give rupees 110. So what is the meaning of currency eater? Meaning of currency eater is that's your 100, you are buying 1 kg, but when inflation attacks it, it looks as if 10 rupees gone. Which means now when you are going to the market to buy this kg, the person who is selling this, if you try to show, hey, this is my 100 rupees, he will say, no, this is not 100, it's 90 only. He will consider it to be 90. He will reduce the value by 10% of this currency. And he will say, this looks like 90 only. Because currency eater has eaten 10. So in 90 rupees, how much can you buy? This much only. So even if you take 100 rupee currency note during inflation, it will not be treated as 100, it will be treated as 90. And in 90, you can buy only this much. That's the meaning of inflation. So in inflation, the purchasing power of the currency is not whatever is written on the face value. The purchasing power is less than the face value. So whatever is written on the face value is called nominal value. So during inflation, this nominal value of the currency is 100, but its real value, purchasing power, what would people see in this? They won't see 100 because 10% eaten. So they will see something like, fold it, they will see 90. 90 becomes the real value. So similarly, rate of interest. So for example, if I give you this, use the same logic. If I tell you that currently suppose the nominal rate of interest, I'll tell you what is the meaning. Nominal rate of interest is, let's say, 10%. Inflation is, let's say, 6%. Now let me tell you a story and you tell me the answer, okay? So now suppose there is a bank. There is a bank and that's you. What have you done? You deposited your cash in a bank and bank promised you that they'll give you 10% rate of interest. Have a look at this, please. So you took your cash and bank said, I'll give you 10% rate of interest. How much money did you give? 100 rupees. Now what happened is, bank did not inform you that there is inflation and you have no idea about inflation. Inflation means currency eater, mind you. So the value of the currency eater is 6%. That is the hunger of this currency eater. Bank told you, I'll give you 10%. You are very happy. Now, after 1 year, you take out the money. Currency eater is still there. Because once inflation comes, it doesn't leave easily. So now you will calculate what is your rate of interest that you got. So the rate of interest that you get in your hand is called real rate of interest. So what is real rate of interest? The bank offered you 10%. But the moment bank offers you this 10%, because 100 rupees you deposited, bank is giving you 10 rupee extra. So this is your benefit. But the moment you take this 10 rupees, currency eater will come. And I told you what is the value of currency eater. Value of currency eater is 6%. In fact, from the first day itself, currency eater was looking at this and saying, Acha, bank is offering you 10. But how can the bank offer you 10? Because my value is 6. So that's 6%. Anyway, I'm going to eat from here. So 4%, which means minus 6. Because we are dealing in percentage now. So the bank offered you 10, but the percentage value of this is 6. So we simply remove 6 from here because the currency eater will come and say my value is 6. So since this is also percent, this is also percent, directly we subtract. We don't calculate absolute numbers here. It is in percent, so percent. So easy to calculate. Percent is removed. If it had been rupees, in rupees calculation, what do? I told you, no, in rupees you remove 10% out of it because this is rupee and this is, let's say, inflation 10%. In this case, you reduce 10% out of 100, which is 10 rupees deducted, 90 rupees left because it is in rupee. So you convert this percentage into absolute numbers. But here, when bank told you that I will give you 10% rate of interest, inflation says my value is 6%. So what is the meaning of 10? There is no meaning of 10. Both are percentage. So since both are percentage, you directly subtract it. And this person says, this currency eater, that's my value. How can you get this? So the real value is 4%. So whenever you deposit money in a bank during inflation, if bank tells you, and this is a very classic game played by banks, when there was high inflation recently, every bank was saying, we are giving you high rate on fixed deposits. Yeah, correct, why not? Absolutely sahi keh rahe ho. Absolutely you are paying high deposits. So for example, during inflation what happened is fixed deposits. If you give money in a bank, let's say 100 rupees, 7% was the fixed deposit rate being offered to us. 7%. Now we were very happy that 7 is so good. And we were all putting our money in the bank. Everybody got crazy putting 8%. Your friend is saying, chalo 8 dal lo. Everybody was going crazy, 8% returns on the bank. But at that time inflation was 6%. So actually when you take returns, which means real rate of interest, ROI means rate of interest. The real rate of interest is nominal rate of interest minus inflation. So what is nominal rate of interest? 8% minus 6% is equal to 2%. That is what we got. And in fact, when inflation was not there, I'll tell you that time interest rate was higher. So for example, this is what happened a few days back, let's say 6 months back. Actually, it happened in India. But you know, before this situation happened, people were getting a higher return. I'll show you how. So for example, this was 6 months back. But last year in 2023, if you put 100 rupees in a bank used to give only 5% FD rate, fixed deposit 5%. But at that time, inflation was, let's say, 3%. Inflation was 3% and this was 5. And people were saying, why to give money to them? This is just 5%. Acha, let's calculate the real rate of return. Real rate of interest is equal to nominal minus this 2%. Same. So if somebody told you that bank is giving a higher FD return, that's incorrect. Because yes, this was high, so was this. Inflation is also high. So never be fooled by these arguments. When a bank tells you that I am giving you higher FD rate, yes, you are right, bank, you are giving me higher FD, but so is inflation high. And we calculate the real return by doing this minus this. Because this is currency eater, it will eat this up. Similarly, if this is the FD rate, fixed deposit rate in a bank, the currency eater is 3%. So real rate of return is 2% only. So if somebody tells you which is better, if you look at FD rate, you will say this is better. But the real answer is both are same. So what do we compare whenever we have to find out how much money did we earn? So we compare the real rate of return. And what is the formula of real rate of return? Please remember this funda. You will always feel confident about it. So whenever you have to calculate real rate of return, just do one thing. Find out what the other person is promising and ask them a question that what is the value of currency eater, the inflation, subtract it. The moment you subtract, you get real rate of return. That's our next point. So please write, during inflation, absolutely, during inflation, absolutely Sugadya, correct. Now you have understood. During inflation, the nominal value and the real value differ. Example, if the nominal rate of interest is 10% and real rate of interest has to be calculated. If then nominal rate of interest is 10% and real rate of interest has to be calculated, comma, we have to deduct inflation. Full stop, please. Write the formula, bachcho. Real rate of interest is equal to nominal rate of interest minus inflation. Real rate of interest is equal to nominal rate of interest minus inflation. Have you heard of stagflation? What is the best way to learn stagflation? Complicated? Simple. I will not teach you stagflation. I'll make you teach me stagflation. आप पढ़ाओ मुझे. So I'm going to give you situation. You keep telling me what is the answer, and then you will see that a very nice. No, don't go by the old formula. If you have read it from somewhere, forget about it, because today you are going to teach me stagflation. All right, you teach me stagflation. Be confident you can. Let me show you how. And I'm super confident that you can do it easily. This is the situation that I'm providing you. Let's start with the analysis, and at the end we will reach a very nice conclusion, which is called stagflation. So हर सभी वो नहीं लेके आते. Don't bring that, because I told you if you bring purchasing power, etc., import export पे तो to reach that we need to understand what is the exchange rate, what is the currency market. These are complicated things called as general equilibrium. So we'll do it later on, not today, because then it won't be possible to understand basic things. We'll complicate later on. Come back here, please. Yeah. AC, can we help your friends? Right? But we'll bring it, pakka, promise. Now, guys, let's start the analysis. You please help me. You are new in the class, so in the offline class, let's start with you. So see, your friend is going to teach me the first part of the question that I'm going to ask. And to my online friends, keep writing the answer. Let me see. Question number 1. There is COVID lockdown. Logical answer, COVID lockdown. So what would you call COVID lockdown as? A very good event in the economy or society, or almost a shock? Brilliant. So first we will write shock. Sometimes we get shocked through SMS also and phone calls also, but that are called as shocks, but personal life. But this is economic shock. So whenever in economics or in a society we receive a shock, for example, health shock, economic shock, that's called as an event. So this is a shock. Question number 1 to you. So when we faced a shock, that means COVID lockdown started, can you please tell me what happened to the overall cost of production in the economy? Overall cost of production, which means price of raw material, etc. Price of raw material increased. Increased? Any doubts? Awesome. So we'll keep writing it like this, increased. You start writing it. Then you will get a real feel of what you are doing. You have to write exactly this. So the first thing is COVID lockdown. Because of COVID lockdown, the cost of production almost increased. Absolutely correct, correct. So cost of production actually increased. Now, second question. When the cost of production increased, what will happen to the society in terms of inflation? Will inflation go up or inflation go down? Inflation goes up. Inflation goes up. So here is your inflation. Keep writing. You will arrive at a beautiful result. Now when inflation is very high, now imagine that things are very costly. All of a sudden you go in the market, you realize, wow, everything is so costly, how to purchase? So what will you do? And you know that there is a shock in the economy, and you know anything could happen in future. Lockdown could continue for like very long time. What will you do? Will you start to demand too many things? Let's buy laptop, let's buy mobile phone, let's buy a new house. Will you start doing that? No. So what will happen to the demand in the society? Demand will come down. Demand will fall. Beautiful. So aggregate demand falls because things are very costly. But mind you, you have to look at this cost inflation along with shock. During shock, when prices are high, people become conscious and they say, no, let me save some money for bad times. That's why demand will come down. Right? Cool. When the demand is down, there is a factory which produces all these things. Fruits, vegetable, etc. are naturally occurring, but manufactured items are produced in a factory. So when cost is high, everything is costly and people are saying, I don't want it. We can't afford. Bad times we have to save money. Why do you have to save money? Crisis. So people say, I don't want it. What will factories do? Increase the output, reduce the output? Reduce the output. It has happened in the automobile sector currently. They are not manufacturing. They are saying anniversary sale. Right? So whenever things are not fine, just celebrate the anniversary. So output is down. Right? Now, I am working in that factory where output has just been reduced. What will they do with me? Increase my salary? Let me work. He's so, straight away he gave that. He said, you are fired. Now imagine Vajiram management listening to your statement. Fired. Right? They will say that students have fired the teacher. Right? So yes, fired. Employment down. Right? It's logical. Now when the employment is down, the factories are reducing their capacity. What happens to the overall supply? Reduces. Now let's look at this amazing result. So in this amazing result, there are three important things that we are always concerned with. What are the three things? See, these three things is a matter of concern for us. That's number one. Output means GDP. That's number two. And that's number three. These are the three things in which we are interested in all the time. So now see last sentence here. What has happened to GDP? GDP has declined. Employment declined. And inflation increased. Now let us see what has happened. But then, yesterday I taught you that there is something called Phillips curve. Phillips curve says, if the society is ready to tolerate inflation, employment should increase. This should increase. Chalo limited hi maan lo. Then it should increase. This should also increase. But what? That's opposite. Phillips curve violated. Phillips curve finished. Phillips is hurt. He says, you guys don't respect me. You just violated Phillips curve. So, inflation is higher. We are not saying how much. Chalo 3%, 4%, limited. Even then it is violated. What is this magical result? This is very dangerous result. Now imagine that you are the Prime Minister of India and you just facing this situation. Around 2012, we almost entered there. We almost entered. We said, why to leave anything? Let's experiment with every ideas. So India said, come stagflation, I want to feel you also. So stagflation came to India. It was knocking the doors and India was confused what to do. Ab see what India did. This is exactly when Dr. Rajan was there in the economy. So Governor Dr. Rajan, he realized inflation is very high. Immediately he increased repo rate. He said, increase, increase, increase. Let's see the effect. The moment your repo rate will increase, automatically the people who are investing money, the business class, they will say, I don't want to take loan. So what will happen? Automatically investment will come down. Factories shut. Your GDP is down. Employment down. So if you increase repo rate to control inflation, you are destroying your employment and output. Finished. But if you reduce the repo rate, reduce the repo rate, what will happen because of that? Investment will go up, business community will invest, people will get more jobs. But the moment you reduce repo rate, inflation will become hyperinflation. So this is a classic situation of doomed or damned. If you reduce repo rate, this will become hyperinflation, finished. If you increase the repo rate, this can be controlled, these two will be destroyed. Are you understanding the problem? This happened in India. It is exactly at that time that Dr. Kaushik Basu, he told Dr. Rajan, sir, control. Because that's you, Dr. Rajan and Dr. Basu. So what did they decide at that time? This was a beautiful combination. Yeah, they said, let's do one thing. So then it was decided that Dr. Rajan will, what is the solution? Because if you try to control one variable, the other two will be destroyed. And if you try to manage this, this will be destroyed. So the solution is you have to attack it from two sides. So immediately it was decided that Dr. Rajan will increase the repo rate mildly, mild increase. Which means if repo rate was 5%, he will make it 5.25. The moment mild increase happens, some people will stop taking loans. Consumers will stop taking loan, producer will stop taking, some people. Exactly at that time, they said, Dr. Basu said, I will start to provide subsidies to some industries so that they don't shut down. Essential industries who are manufacturing things of daily use items and important items, which is being demanded in India a lot. So he said, you increase the repo rate, some basic industries will feel the effect and they will feel negative about it. Immediately he said, I'll provide subsidy to them. I will reduce their corporate taxes. And then he said, there are some segments whom I am going to provide unemployment benefits because they might not be able to get employment immediately because repo rate is high, some factories will be shut down, I'll provide employment benefits. And third, they said we will construct more roads under Manrega so that more people are absorbed here. So see, what are you doing? You are following, which policy are you following? You are following contractionary monetary policy and expansionary fiscal policy. That's the combination you have to follow. But you have to create balance in such a way that this increase in repo rate is not that high that it will suppress the investment. It has to be high, but only up to the level that it doesn't kill our GDP. This is very disturbing. This is a very delicate situation. And they say that, I have often heard the policymakers saying that we are walking a thin line. That's the thin line they talk about, that how much repo rate to increase so that inflation is also arrested. Arrested means it doesn't come down, but it almost stabilizes. That okay, now it will not increase. So then Dr. Rajan said, for the final time here, Dr. Rajan increased the repo rate in such a way that he said, okay, inflation will just halt. At 13-14%, it will stabilize. Then he said, Dr. Basu, now you increase the fiscal policy. Because the moment you do this, people will have more cash in the hand. It might backfire. So every time you give employment to somebody in Manrega, you will give them salary. But there is too much of cash in the economy already, inflation, too much of cash, and you are giving salary also. So every time you give salary to people, increase the repo rate little bit. So which means it has to be done till the time fiscal policy, expansionary and contractionary monetary policy, they are acting in such a way as to stabilize the economy. So this does not have a formula. How much repo rate to increase, how much roads to construct under Manrega, no formula. Which is totally depends upon the creativity and the understanding of the policy makers who are there. That's why they say having a good chief economic advisor and RBI governor is very important. Here Prime Minister can't do anything, Chief Minister can't do anything, Finance Minister can't do anything. Because they are technically not equipped to handle all this. What they can do is they can tell the policymakers that, hey, control it. That's it. Then they will call the policymakers every morning and say, did you control? Policymaker will say, wish we had a formula. We are trying our best. So what will UPSC ask you? UPSC will ask you a question here that what leads to stagflation? This is called stagflation. What is the meaning of stagflation? Two things. The meaning of stagflation is that there is inflation and your employment and GDP either become stagnant or they fall. Which means these two become negative and inflation becomes very high. This is called stagflation. How do you come out of stagflation? Since these two are becoming negative, which means employment is going down, GDP is going down, you have to follow expansionary fiscal policy. And since inflation is very high, you have to bring it down. So how do you bring it down? Contractionary monetary policy. This combination of contractionary and this expansionary is called as solution to stagflation. But if you ask me that how much to increase, etc., nobody has any formula, nobody has any. I told you, it's based on experience that you can do it. So wait and watch, do and then test. That's your stagflation. So did you draw this? Did you learn a new method of learning? That yes, you can also understand these things like this. There is one way of learning which is like start with a definition, etc. I don't think that's a good, I think this is a good way. Why? Because you actually feel everything here. I'll give you another example so that your understanding becomes crystal clear. But this example will hardly last 5 seconds, you will understand it. What did I tell you? You are smart kids and you are my kids now. You have to understand the relevance of the words. It's a shock, which means stagflation will not happen unless there is an economic shock. For stagflation to happen, there has to be a shock. ऐसे होता है ना, when you get personal shocks in life, for example, somebody blocks your number, shock, you change. You start to prepare for UPSC more aggressively. And there are 100% chances you will qualify. I'm telling you this. So ask you understand this problem? Ask your best friend to block you. I'm telling you this. You will change as a person that day. Stagflation will happen. And then you evolve. So guys, unless there is a shock in life, iPad, am I right? Ayush, where are you lost? Hey, dekh lo. Earlier he was looking in the screen, now he's looking left side. Right? So, this is a shock, guys. Unless there is a shock, this thing doesn't work. So let's do another thing. Suppose that global oil prices, so global oil price is rising. That's a shock. It is called supply shock. Why is it called supply shock? Because the countries which are supplying oil, they are supplying the oil at a very high price. Same story will happen. Let's check. So let's check it. So when the oil prices are high, you know that oil is used in transportation and everything. Cost of production will rise. See? Supply side. And now what will happen? Inflation will also rise. Imported inflation. Okay? Now next is aggregate demand. When there is inflation, you understand that demand will be slightly less because people are fearing that oil price might rise again. Because there is a global phenomenon. So people are scared. During, these kind of shocks, we become conservative. So demand will come little down, output will come little down, employment will be down, supply will be down. So one shock leads to this entire cycle. But for this to happen, this stagflation to happen, there must be a shock. If there is no shock, then this combination of situation might not happen. Monsoon shock. Suppose that they are saying no rain. For how long? No idea. So what will happen when the rain is not there, when we are dependent so much on monsoon, and suppose that weather conditions are becoming adverse, tornado is coming, cyclones are coming, across the world this is happening now. So now what will happen? People feel that weather is not cooperating. Now there might be a problem. So because your fruits, vegetable, rice, wheat, cereals, their price is rising, not because one farmer has been affected, but there is a shock, monsoon shock, weather shock. And there are many occasions in history, if you look at Indian society and economy and agriculture, in patches we have suffered shocks. Droughts have happened in this country. Whenever you are going through drought period or extra rain, flooding happens, etc., cost of production rises. Tomato ketchup will become costly because tomatoes are costly. And then this entire cycle will happen. Which means, I'm just trying to tell you one thing, that if you don't want to get into complications, just memorize this one point. Because of some shock, economic shock, and then you give 3 examples. That it could be COVID, it could be oil price, or it could be weather related shock. Because of shocks, this whole cycle runs and it leads to stagflation. Shock is compulsory for stagflation. Take a look, please. Suppose there is no, but I didn't say that India actually suffered stagflation. I said that India was about to suffer stagflation during 2012, and the reason was weather shock, by the way. It was monsoon related shock. So please write, what did we say? Suppose there is an economic shock, thank you. Suppose there is an economic shock, like global oil price, comma, COVID related shock, or adverse weather conditions. Adverse weather conditions. Please put a dash, hyphen. In these situations, the overall cost of production increases, which leads to inflation. Full stop. Because of shock related uncertainties, because of shock related uncertainties, because of shock related uncertainties, as well as inflation, aggregate demand declines. Aggregate demand declines. Full stop. It leads to decline in output and GDP. It leads to decline in output and GDP along with employment. This further reduces overall aggregate supply in the economy. Aggregate supply in the economy. Just put a full stop, change the paragraph and then write. This situation is called stagflation. This situation is called stagflation. Which is a combination of three scenarios. Number one, high inflation. Number two, low employment. Number three, low output and GDP. Now please write solution to stagflation. Solution to stagflation. That's right. You know the solution, right? And I told you for exam purposes, precise things are important. चलिए बताइए, please tell me, what is the solution to stagflation? Expansionary fiscal policy and followed separately or combinedly? Jointly, as simple as that, simultaneously. So please write, the policy makers have to simultaneously launch contractionary monetary policy, CMP, contractionary monetary policy, like increase in repo rate. Contractionary monetary policy, like increase in repo rate, along with expansionary fiscal policy, EFP, expansionary fiscal policy, that is increase in subsidy, reduction of taxes, increase in government expenditures, like CAPEX, capital expenditure, CAPEX on infrastructure. Full stop, please. Write a note, the final point. For stagflation to happen, the trigger is provided by an economic shock. Was COVID an economic shock?
Yes.
COVID was initially a health shock, a shock for the society, which turned into economic shock. Because once your health is impacted, obviously your earning capacity will be impacted. So ultimately, whatever is happening, if it impacts the economy towards the end, definitely it is shocking. Right? This is the problem. Acha, batao, have you understood anything in stagflation which bothers you, or you feel that you can write the answer in the exam? To my online and offline students, can you write this answer in the exam using the diagram? And I told you that writing answer in the exam is an art where you have to write precise things. And if you write these things only and just use the word shock, examiner will be super impressed. I'm telling you this. All the economists, they just love to find one word in your answer. They want to find out whether you have written the word shock or not. If you have written the word shock, awesome. They'll be super happy. Now, can you please tell me that what is the difference between deflation and stagflation? What is a stagflation? Your friend has just put that question. So I don't think you require me for that, Manas. If you apply little mind, you will know it by yourself. But okay, let's do it just to give you confidence that you don't need me for all this. See, what is the meaning of deflation? Chalo, let's have some confidence booster discussion for a minute. So Manas, you keep watching how your friends will help. So brilliant. Your friend Harsh and Suganya, they have simply said that what is the meaning of deflation? Deflation means rise in price, fall in price. Brilliant. Fall in price is deflation. And what did I tell you is stagflation? Rise in price. Brilliant. That's the first difference. For this, you don't need me now. Second thing which is happening here, it is compulsory. What will happen? Shock in terms of reduction of employment plus reduction in output or GDP. And then I told you that it starts with shock. Shock is compulsory. And then in case of deflation, I gave you one example. I remember in the class that if I'm the only seller of this water bottle, first I'll sell it for 100, the 105, 120, 140, 150. But when I get more competition in the market, shock has not come. Economy is not suffering from shock, but more companies have started to produce. So what will I do? I have to reduce my price and bring it back to normal, which is without shock also in a free market, open economy where everything is working based on market forces, demand and supply. Nobody is putting any restriction or pressure over me, but I'm facing competition. I will reduce the price. So deflation will happen not because economy is suffering from a cash shock. It might happen because there is more competition. It's good for the economy. More competition is good. So in a healthy economy, you might fight deflation. So that's one thing. Now, second thing, if the economy suffers from this, what are the policies that you use to take out the economy from there? Bataiye, which policy? You know it. Contractionary monetary policy plus expansionary fiscal policy. Simultaneously, brilliant. And if your economy suffers from deflation, remember, when do we suffer from deflation in the business cycle? I know that you know it already. This is where you suffer from deflation. So you have to bring the economy back. Which policy will you use? I taught you today itself. Counter-cyclical policy, but I taught you two policies today. First is expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy. So how do you take the economy? This is the first dictation I gave you today. So which means here you will use expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy. See the difference? That's it. Which means that I suggest one thing to you. If you truly want to qualify big exams like this with a great rank, then I have a suggestion. My suggestion is, wherever you are confused about something, but you know it has been taught, the first thing that you should do is immediately convert the theories taught in the class into these symbols. I'm telling you, it will help. It will change your life. Convert everything into symbols and start putting arrows and try to recollect, what have I studied, what have I studied? And then try to just put it down. And once you put everything down, whatever you have studied, you will quickly see, acha, this is the difference. And then you will be through. Because for UPSC level, this should be good. Try doing this for, I can give you one assignment also if you want to do it. You can do it for inflation and deflation. Do it for inflation and deflation, create a table and try to create the difference. Inflation, deflation, inflation, deflation. Try to do it really, you will really enjoy it. Because I have taught you that. Similarly, even though I have not taught you great details of fiscal and monetary policy, abhi to yet we are supposed to do it. Today we are starting the monetary policy. And fiscal policy, I'll teach you in the form of taxes, etc. Long time away, it's there. But what you can do is, whatever I have taught you, you can create a table, fiscal, monetary. And then you can write fiscal means taxes, monetary means repo rate. Aise karke you can create a policy. These things, if you do know, Trust me, when the exam comes, you'll feel so ease. You'll be so much at ease in the exam. You'll feel, oh, I know it, how to handle. This art has to be learned. Fine. I just showed you that if you relax, you can do these things actually. So, yes, please, please. If you have any doubts related to stagflation, you can ask me, I'll answer. And then we'll go to the next part. Stagflation is fine. And I taught you this funda also. So let's see, one more question is coming. Achha, what did you ask? Stagflation, shock is invisible hand. Okay, Harsh, yes, we can. So your friend is saying, can we say that people being conservative is the primary reason for stagflation? No, not people being conservative. Yes, actually, we can say that shock is the reason which makes people conservative. Because there is a shock. And when there is a shock, we don't know when the shock will be over. That's why we become conservative. So the real reason is not conservatism. Being conservative is the symptom. The disease is the shock. Ketan, you please type it. So I'll answer. Stagflation part where aggregate demand comes down, okay. But in COVID situation, we saw increase in buying in rice and other. That's called as... So in stagflation, what did I tell you? Shock. Then I told you cost of production increases, inflation increases, and then I told you, demand is, aggregate demand is down. Then I told you output is down. Your friend asked a question, I'll just repeat it. So, not every day, Suganya, because if I start giving you assignment every day, then what will happen? The problem will be that your other subjects will be impacted, and being your faculty of UPSC and economics, my prime concern is that you should qualify UPSC. So I will not give you assignments every day. What I'll do is I'll teach you in such a way, I'll take little more time, but I'll teach you in such a way that your self-study time at home will be minimized. This I can promise you. So you will never see me in rush. I can actually speed it up easily in half an hour, but that I will never do. So we'll study at ease, aaram se pyar se, we'll study at so much of ease. The reason being that you don't have to push too much time at home. But yes, when I do questions with you, that time it will be rigorous. Because that day will be a rigorous day when we do all the MCQs. I'll do from basics till very advanced level MCQs, so that UPSC will not give you shock. Right? Now come here please. So, your friend just mentioned a point that, sir, during COVID what happened is cost of production increased. But then people started to buy a lot of rice and wheat. But you are saying that demand will come down. Let's see what happened in COVID. So shock happened, which is COVID. Because of shock, cost of production of a lot of commodities increased. Along with that, the demand of basic commodities, rice, wheat, basic things. Absolute basic thing. People are not buying houses during COVID. So basic things ka demand increased. But you understand, when there is excess demand, supply is less, demand is more. That's your answer. So whether you will hold it like this or hold it like this, you will reach here itself. And then ultimately this will happen. So I told you, if you use this funda, you will never go wrong. Pata hai which funda? You simply have to convert everything into symbols. Now went into negatives, or it can be class A. Correct. Who wrote that? Yes, correct. Together in the stagflation, absolutely. Yes, Suganya, correct. Now your understanding is becoming very mature. So your friend is saying that in a society like India, sir, because there is a stratification of population, different income groups staying in India. That's why we have to use many combinations of policies. Totally agreed. Had we been a developed country with one type of people only, super rich or not so rich, one policy will work. But in this country, there are three layers of the population. One is near poverty line, one is the middle class, and one is the upper class. So we have to create three different type of policies, right? So in the budget, I found something very funny. So in the budget, the government of India has said this year that they are going to promote those companies in India which will lease out private jets. Right? So everybody was cheering. They are saying, yes, finally the India has started doing this. Yeah, for whom? Right? Because there are many guests who have to attend the marriages in future also. Right? So I heard that in the latest marriage which happened, 200 jets were hired. Right? And there was a scarcity of jets in the world because India does not lease out jets. So what did government do in the budget? Hiring of jet allowed now. So now there will be companies in India who will lease out jets 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 100 days, just like we lease out bikes. No, jet will be leased out. Entire India was celebrating. Finally, jet has come to India. Yes, thank you so much. Right, so we have to understand that government is taking different steps for different sections of this. I don't have a problem with that. Why will I have a problem? So, but what your friend was saying, I'm just telling that yes, you are right, that different sections, different requirements. So government caters to all the sections of the society, and that is how it should be. See, if some person is here, we don't have to kill them. Kill them matlab destroy them. What we have to do is, job done. To improve somebody, you don't have to embarrass somebody else. Just make them stronger, done. That should be the philosophy. Oh, guy bhi ho gaye, sorry. Now, come back guys. And please write, monetary policy, we are continuing. It's not a new topic. Continuation, please write, monetary policy in India. Monetary policy in India. But it's so good to see that you are taking interest in the subject and the topic. Really happy. Monetary policy in India. But there is one more good thing which you have developed over a period of time, and I can see that. And that good thing you should keep intact in other subjects also, because I don't teach you every subject, but just take this word of advice. It will help you because you are actually doing that thing only. So whenever you prepare for these exams, no, if somebody tells you that, okay, these are the important things which you have to do, make sure that you do it. For example, I told you that always focus on keywords. Like when we did stagflation, I repeated once or twice, it's shock, and you got it. And then I started to ask you, you were also answering well, and your friends, online friends, when they were asking the doubt, 90% of the doubt had the word shock, which means that you already absorbed it and you understood that a shock has to be used. So they were asking, your friends were asking different types of shocks. That what if this shock happens, that shock happens, which means that you understood the word shock. And that was the prime concern, that you should catch these words. So you are taking the advices seriously. Trust me, you will do really well. Because if you take the advice seriously. Now, can we represent a not possible. In business cycle, you cannot. Stagflation is a unique situation. Come back now. So, monetary policy in India. Guys, first of all, the question is, what is monetary policy? Bigger question. Now, in India, before 2016, I told you all this, but I'll just repeat it in 30 seconds. Before 2016, the fiscal policy in India used to be created by the government, and the monetary policy used to be created by RBI. What is the meaning of monetary policy? The meaning of monetary policies, I'll dictate this. The meaning of monetary policy is all those policies which control two things: the availability of money and the rate of interest at which money is available. So in monetary policy, you do only two things: availability of this and the cost at which it is available. What is the meaning of cost? Cost means the rate of interest at which it is available. So when you take a bank loan, think about it, bacho. I'm going to tell you a deeper point. You are good kids, you always absorb these points. I hope you absorb this now also. Whenever you go to a bank and you take money from a bank, you take a loan from a bank, you pay a rate of interest. Doesn't it look as if rate of interest is the price that you pay for a commodity called as money? So you took this from a bank. It's like any other commodity, like this pen. So when you buy this pen in the market, you pay price, MRP. So similarly, imagine that you have taken a loan from a bank. When you take a loan from a bank, what do you pay? You pay rate of interest. So doesn't it look as if rate of interest is the price that you paid for this loan? In other words, rate of interest is the cost of taking this loan. Loan can also be called as credit. So they say that monetary policy is concerned with two things. Number one, availability of money, but we don't use the word money now, we'll use the word credit. Availability of credit, and second is the cost of credit. It is called as interest rate. These are the two things that monetary policy decides, that how much credit will be available And why how much credit is decided by decided in monetary policy? Because somebody has to print currency. So it is decided in monetary policy how much currency to print, because if more currency is printed, more will be available. So they decide how much credit is available under monetary policy, and then they decide at what cost. And then I told you a statement that rate of interest is the cost of credit. Because when you take loan, credit means loan. When you take loan, what do you pay? Rate of interest. So this statement is very important. Rate of interest is the cost of loan. So where do you decide all this? Monetary policy. In India, this used to be decided till 2016 only by RBI. But then a problem happened. Imagine stagflation is happening. Think about it. Stagflation has happened. RBI will say, my concern is inflation. I am going to increase the repo rate from 4% to 9%. Government says what? You'll kill the economy. If you increase the repo rate from 4 to 9%, factories will shut down. GDP, output, employment finished. You can't do that. You have to increase the inflation. You have to increase the repo rate mildly only. Why are you increasing it by so much of amount? Which means that there was lack of coordination between fiscal and monetary policy. So what has the government decided? Now government has decided that the target of monetary policy, this will not only be this, but the target of monetary policy will be to decide these two things so that growth or GDP remains healthy. That's the third target. Which means you have to decide availability of cash and rate of interest in such a way that the growth of this country, GDP, output and employment is not compromised. Earlier, RBI used to say, why should I bother about that? That's not my concern. My concern is just these two, inflation. Government has said, come on, inflation in isolation is nothing. Rate of interest in isolation is nothing. You have to make sure that you decide the rate of interest in such a way that growth is not compromised, because it's India. You can't act in isolation. Then it will kill the economy, destroy the economy. So now monetary policy has changed. And now the government is saying, let's decide availability of cash, rate of interest in such a way that inflation is under control, but growth is not compromised. Wow. Next word is inflation under control. Now RBI is happy. RBI says, cool, you put my point. Government says, you have put my point. Which means that if somebody will ask you what is being done in monetary policy, you will say that in monetary policy, we decide credit and cost in such a way that other targets of the economy like inflation and GDP are also satisfied. This is monetary policy. Earlier only RBI was doing this, but since you have introduced the word GDP also, which means now in monetary policy, there will be involvement of government as well. So they said, but government cannot become a part of RBI. So they said, let's create another agency, another organization called as Monetary Policy Committee. So Monetary Policy Committee was created where MPC, Monetary Policy Committee from 2016, where 3 representatives of RBI selected by RBI, governor is a must. So 3 from RBI and 3 from Government of India. They will have a tenure of 4 years. Their tenure they can decide on their own. I have seen them, they repeat their tenures a lot. But here, I have seen that they go for 4 years and then released. Then they change the experts, so as to use the best brains of this country after every 4 years. But here I have seen it's repeated. Obviously, if RBI governor is repeated, he is a part of it. Deputy governor is repeated, he becomes a part of it. But here it is 4 years. Here the duration is not strictly followed. It is their wish. And government does not disturb them. But here it is 4 years. Then it was decided that they will definitely meet 4 times a year. But you understand, as your friend was saying, that India has different layers of population. So if you meet 4 times a year, sometimes it's difficult. So they are meeting 6 times a year, bi-monthly. Right? But I say that if they meet, then they lose relevance. I told you yesterday, if you keep meeting your best friend every day, you lose your value. So currently they are meeting 6 times. That's it. I think in 6 times, 3 times they work, 3 times they party, right? Not on a serious note. So they meet 6 times. Now what do they decide in these 6 times? They decide about very same thing, availability of credit and cost of credit. So which is that most important thing that they decide? One thing, yeah, they decide the repo rate. Through repo rate, they control these two. Through repo. So repo rate is decided now between RBI and government agencies together. How do they decide repo rate? They decide repo rate in such a way that inflation is under control and GDP is also not compromised. So this is something which is their focus. That's why repo rate in India is also called as policy rate. Repo rate in India is also called as anchor rate. Policy or anchor rate. Because once repo rate changes, CRR, SLR, money supply, everything will change. Which means the first decision they take is repo rate. If they change repo rate, they change everything else. If they don't change repo rate, generally you will see they don't change anything else. So that's why they say that our economy will revolve around repo. Whatever is the repo goes up, everything goes up. Repo goes down, everything goes down. Why do they take one thing as anchor? Why repo rate is the main rate of India? Because they say if we take every rate as normal rate like CRR, SLR, repo, everything becomes anchor rate, then it will send a confused signal to the society. Society will be confused. What to take as policy rate? To give the perfect signaling, they said repo rate will be used as policy or anchor rate. If we change repo rate, society should be ready that CRR, SLR might change. So this is used as a signaling device also. Hence it is also called signal rate. Right, this is the basic story. So, pehle let's write it. So, please write. Monetary policy. Monetary policy is a set of steps. Under which instruments are used. Please write instruments. Instruments are used to regulate the availability and cost of credit. The availability and cost of credit. Two types of instruments are used. Under monetary policy, MP. Two types of instruments are used under MP. Number one, qualitative tools of monetary policy. Qualitative tools of monetary policy. Number two, quantitative tools of monetary policy. Quantitative tools of monetary policy. Has somebody taught you qualitative? Basics we have done. High funda we will do later on when I do banking with you. Qualitative and quantitative tools of monetary policy. Change the paragraph please and then write. From 2016 onwards, monetary policy in India is regulated by Monetary Policy Committee. Monetary Policy Committee. Now please write a note, NOT note. MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, has 6 members. Number A, 3 members represent RBI. And number B, 3 members represent the Government of India. Change the paragraph please and then write. MPC conducts bi-monthly meetings. MPC conducts bi-monthly meetings. Full stop. They meet 6 times in 12 months. In 12 months. It is mandatory for them to meet. It is mandatory for them to meet at least 4 times a year. At least 4 times a year. In 1 year, they have to meet at least 4 times. But currently they are meeting 6 times. Please put a full stop. Legislation. There is no act which is passed in the parliament for this. So it's simple. It's an understanding through cabinet decision. So that's why these things are not very constitutional in nature. There is no statute. So it can be resolved anytime, dissolved anytime. So please write. Another note. In the first note you wrote the first point. No. Now write the second point. The first MPC was created. But I'll tell you the executive part also later on, when I tell you that they have to report something to Parliament. The first MPC was created in 2016. Now please put a full stop, guys. Have a look at the board, as for information, basic thing. So that's your first MPC. Now see, Urijit Patel. I told you that he is almost like one of the best that India has produced. Superb guy. So Dr. Urijit Patel, after he was released from here, because he worked here for quite some time with the government, but there were some differences between Government of India and Dr. Patel. And the differences were mostly related to one of the things which I'll teach you when I teach you RBI, that is called as RBI transfers, surplus transfer to the government. RBI makes a lot of profit. So from that profit, government was telling RBI that you share more profit with me. But RBI said, Dr. Urijit Patel said that no, I will not share entire profit with you. Some profit I want to keep so that if economy goes in bad shape or condition, that money will be used for economic development and saving the economy. But government was saying, no, future is future, but first you share the profit with me. So there was this disagreement between Dr. Patel and Government of India, and Dr. Patel resigned. He said, I don't want to continue, finished. So there are many people who raise a question that is this Monetary Policy Committee autonomous? Well, in the sense that yes, there is no other outside interference, correct, but then there is executive also which is present along with monetary authorities. So in that sense, internally there is a problem, because government wants GDP to be high, RBI wants inflation to be under control. So obviously there will always be that conflict, which means that the nature of thinking or the type of thinking that the Monetary Policy Committee members have, it impinges upon the outcome of the monetary policy. So if all the members are of the same thought process that rate of interest should be suppressed, what will they do? They'll suppress the rate of interest, they will tolerate inflation. But if the members are hardcore members who say, no, inflation has to be managed, which means the economists who are there, they are monetary economists. And what is monetary economists? They believe that everything can be controlled through change of money supply, which means entire monetary economics, they believe in one theory, that inflation is the most important thing which has to be controlled. They will not focus too much on growth. They will say money, inflation needs to be controlled, which means that they will always keep the repo rate slightly higher. And they will say keep it higher so that inflation is under control. So that's why it really matters as to what type of people have entered the Monetary Policy Committee, because your persona, your personality actually would decide the repo rate at the end. So when they say that no, everything is formula based, it is not formula based, it is personality based. So now see, we have Dr. Urijit Patel, who always believed in slightly towards the growth side. He believed that growth should be higher and inflation should be stable. He is the one who gave us CPI, WPI ka new formula under Dr. Rajan. But it was Urijit Patel committee who decided the CPI, WPI. So he is almost a genius. Now, there is R. Gandhi was the deputy governor, and Michael Patra, he is still there. You see, Michael Patra, yes, here. You see, same guy. Now there is this Dr. Ravinder Dholakia, he is professor from Ahmedabad. He was there for 2 years and then he got released. Now Chetan Ghate from ISI, remember ISI, right? I told you this is almost a genius place. So one professor from here, one from here, and she's from Delhi school. So she's the one who taught me how to predict inflation. So during my time, she was there. She was the dean actually. And then when I completed my courses there in Delhi school, at that time only she was appointed. And then finally she has retired from active teaching. So she's not there, but she completed her education from London School of Economics. She's considered to be an epic figure in inflation and monetary management. Amazing lady. Now come here. So you see Dr. Shaktikant Das, I am almost like a great fan of this person. Reason being that from history background, if you can control monetary policy, you are a leader. And then you have Rajiv Ranjan, he has been introduced through RBI, and Michael Patra has continued. Now Michael Patra must be a very intelligent man. That's why he is still contributing. He is considered to be a neutral guy, Michael Patra, mostly neutral. Now you have Dr. Ram Singh, I've already told you. And then you have Saugata Bhattacharya. So he is a representative of Government of India. And then you have Dr. Nagesh Kumar. He is also from Delhi school. So currently there are two people who represent the Delhi school type of thinking. And the Delhi school type of thinking is slightly centrist, neutral. They are not left-leaning, they are not right-leaning. They are more liberal in their approach. They will say, okay, as and when it comes, we will see. So which means that the kind of monetary policy that you can imagine in India currently, let me show you. And why am I telling you that their individual personality matters? Because the kind of monetary policy they will make can be of this type. What are the different personalities that these people bring on the table? So one type of personality is called as dovish personality. One type of personality is called calibrated tightening personality. One type is hawkish and one type is neutral. So I told you that currently you have those kind of people who are more open in their thought and they are saying that, let's take the action as and when it comes, which means mostly you will find them like this. Currently in the Monetary Policy Committee, most of them, their thought process is mostly towards neutral, or you will see them something like this. So I can see two types of personalities in the current Monetary Policy Committee. One set of personalities like this who are saying that for us, we are dovish, which means our aim is to increase GDP. And how do you increase GDP? One formula. You have to keep the interest rates low. Low. Because when your repo rate is low, investment will be high, GDP will be high. Expansionary monetary policy, which means those people who are dovish, they believe in monetary economics. So what will they do? They will say, reduce the repo rate. And what do you get when you reduce the repo rate? When you reduce the repo rate, investment will rise in the economy because people will take more loans. Consumers will also take more credit or more loan. So what will, yes, because people will take more loan to buy air conditioner and refrigerator. So currently, the animal spirits, currently the thought process of Monetary Policy Committee, there are one or two people who are like this, but 4 people are like this. So in every Monetary Policy Committee meeting, you will see 1 or 2 people will vote differently. It is done through voting. And then there are these people who vote differently. So this is the kind of policy which says, listen to it carefully, this is the kind of policy which says, I have 2 aims. My GDP should be stable. Wow, stable, huh? And my inflation should also be stable. Well, if they are saying whatever it is, let's maintain it. So you will see that they will not change the rates a lot. They will say, yes, we might change. They will keep on telling you, might, but they won't. This is what is currently happening. So didn't I tell you that personality of MPC actually matters? Now, correct, to control the balance of power. So see, this repo rate is low in this case. Matlab people who are dovish, they believe in this. And then people who are neutral, they believe that whatever is happening, just maintain, don't disturb. I'll teach you it in a different way also in 5 minutes, but first basic idea. Now what are these people? Hawkish. Hawkish people are saying, my ultimate aim of life is to control inflation. Well, whatever happens, they will say, nah, inflation has to be controlled. You will tell them there is no inflation. They will say, but inflation should be controlled. So what will they do to control inflation? Increase repo rate. In whatever meeting they go, no, if you ask them, how are you doing, sir? Increase repo rate. You will say, what are you saying? They will say, increase repo rate. What's your name? Increase repo rate. That's the problem. So these hawks are almost like fixated. Repo rate, repo rate, repo rate. Obsessed people. Right? What is this calibrated tightening? They believe in giving signals, right? So whenever you talk to some people in life, ऐसे होता है, you have some friends in life, if you ask them, so would you like to go out and watch a movie, they'll say, well, maybe yes, maybe no. Right? Ask them why, then they will tell, I will let you know. Or they will give you mixed signals. Sometimes they'll tell you, let's go, then they will say, okay, wait, let me think again. What is this? They'll give you mixed signal all the time, they'll confuse you. Right? So if you ask them that, where to watch the movie, they'll say, go left and then go right, then go straight, you will reach there. Where left, where right? So these are the people basically who don't take a stand. And they will keep telling you that, okay, you want to control inflation, Mr. Hawkish? So I'm going to tell everyone, so I'm in the Monetary Policy Committee, and I know my Monetary Policy Committee is mostly hawkish. 5 out of 6 members are hawkish. So I am one person who believes in calibrated tightening. So I'll tell everyone that, see, I have a calibrated approach. I'm going to announce that yes, in future, you might see increase in rate of interest. When, I don't know, but sometime it will happen. So these are the people who will keep telling you, sometime in future I will increase the interest. When? That I can't tell you. Why? I don't know. Right? So these are the people who have made up their mind that I'm going to block your number. When? I don't know. I need a trigger to do that. So they will definitely increase the interest rate because they are mostly towards hawkish only, leaning towards hawkish. But when will they increase the interest rate? Mixed signal. They will say, we might do it sometime soon or we might do it sometime later. When, sir, exactly? So they will say, we are thinking. So that's your thinking people. But they are leaning towards hawks. It looks as if they are supporting the hawks. So these are the 4 types of thought process in the Monetary Policy Committee. Let me explain this through one example and dictate also. So please write, discuss, लिखिए बच्चों, discuss the various types of, we'll see. Discuss, अभी देखेंगे वो आएगा. When, as I was telling your friend that when we discuss about reporting of the MPC in the parliament, because they have to report to parliament also about a few things. अभी देखेंगे. So please write, what is the question I told you? Discuss the various types of monetary policy stance. Various types of monetary policy stance. Means what is the position taken by them? What is their behavior? So let's write monetary policy stance can be divided into 4 categories. Number 1, dovish stance. These dove people are very, very soft. They will say that increase the GDP. So dovish stance. Now hold on please. Let me show you where actually it was used in India. ये देखिए. That's your RBI, Monetary Policy Committee. It is chaired by RBI Governor. He is the chair of this committee. Now what did he do when COVID happened? See, I've got some pictures for you. When COVID happened, at that time the government of India was saying that for me inflation is not important. For me savings life is important, and for me giving more cash to the society is important, because without cash how will people buy medicine? How are people going to stay alive? Because they have to buy food, they have to buy so many things. So for me it is not important to control inflation, it is important for me to give more cash and to make sure that people have some basic livelihood, for example basic employment opportunities created for them. So from 2020 to 21 we were in this mode, and we thought that only thing that is important in life is GDP. Inflation control can take a back seat. So how do you make sure that your GDP is high? You print more currency and increase the money supply. I'll teach you this in banking. So you print more currency and distribute. You keep the repo rate very low. So first time RBI, what will I do? I'll print currency and I'll put the currency in the banks. Then I'll put the repo rate very low. When repo rate is low, currency is available in the bank, people will take more loans. That is what was done in India. And what was the reason? Because they said that COVID is a crisis, health crisis and then economic crisis. How to come out of crisis? Counter-cyclical policy. So they said the best way to come out of crisis is print currency, give more money to the society. That is called as dovish or accommodative stance. Why accommodative? Because there are new realities in the economy and we are accommodating the new realities through our approach policies. So what is the new reality of the economy? COVID shock. And how are you trying to accommodate the new reality? By reducing the rate of interest, counter-cyclical policy to help the society. So it is called as dovish or accommodative. It is also called as soft approach. Means people who are dovish, they are called as you are soft because you are accommodative. So you write it there, please. Dovish stance or accommodative stance. Accommodative stance. Please write. It simply means that the MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, it simply means that the MPC aims to increase GDP, in order to support the economy. In order to support the economy. Inflation becomes the secondary target. Inflation becomes the secondary target. Example COVID. Example COVID. During COVID this happened. Now number 2, please write. Calibrated tightening. Calibrated tightening. Calibrated tightening. I want to ask you a question. Bachcho, during COVID more cash was released. What do you think happens when more cash is released? Tendency of inflation or deflation? Inflation happens. There is tendency of inflation. Tendency of inflation. When there is tendency of inflation, and suppose RBI is meeting, like Monetary Policy Committee is meeting, if you ask the members that, sir, you know, COVID happened, you released cash, it is leading to inflation, would you like to increase the rate? So they will tell you that, well, see, we cannot tell you if we are going to actually increase the rate, but we can tell you one thing, that since we were cutting the rate down here, we were reducing the rate here, we are not in a mood to reduce the rate any further because inflation will rise. So the first announcement that calibrated people make is rate cuts will not happen. Second announcement they will give you is a mixed signal. They will tell you that in future, but we don't know which future, in future if we feel that inflation is out of control, we might increase the repo rate. So they tell you one thing with certainty, that rate cuts will not happen. But they also tell you something else, that in future it might be possible that we will increase the rates when we don't know, but yes, we might. Why? Because inflation is already there. That's the mixed signal. So please write, in this case, the Monetary Policy Committee rules out the rate cut. Rules out the rate cut. Full stop. They also assure the economy that repo rate will not increase. That repo rate will not increase in every meeting, but eventually it will increase. Eventually it will increase to control inflation. To control inflation. So guys, when will it increase? No idea, but will it increase? Yes. Why? To control inflation. That's your calibrated. Then please write hawkish. See guys, hawkish stance. Now please write, under this approach, inflation control is the top priority. Inflation control is the top priority. And the MPC increases repo rate, to control inflation. Example, 2022, RBI became hawkish. So what is the example? In 2022, RBI became hawkish. Two examples. Now please write neutral stance. Abhi currently RBI is neutral. So please write, next is neutral stance. Neutral stance. In this case, MPC has two priorities. MPC, not RBI. MPC has two priorities. Number one, to reduce inflation and keep it stable. And number two, to increase growth and keep it stable. Rajan, make it MPC. Keep it stable. Full stop. In neutral stance, change the paragraph please, and then write in neutral stance, MPC is ready. MPC is ready to change repo rate in any direction, that is increase or decrease. To stabilize inflation and GDP. But I have to show you something. The thing which I am not going to do today, because this can only be done with banking, but this part was connected, so we did it. Let me show you what are the things I am not going to do today. I'll do it at the right time. See this please. I told you this is Monetary Policy Committee. Ideally, normally I do Monetary Policy Committee with RBI, the technicalities, etc. But the reason that I did it today was because we were doing inflation. This part of the Monetary Policy Committee which we did, it is related to inflation and inflation targeting. So basically I had to teach you inflation targeting, but it was not possible to teach inflation targeting without giving you this basic information. So now I'll give you the dictation of what is inflation targeting. Remember 4 plus minus 2%. But this detail of Monetary Policy Committee I am reserving when I teach you RBI and banking. Let me show you that slide which I have already got for you. These are the instruments of monetary policy which I have not taught you in details. This I have taught you in the class. This we just touched upon. But when I give you an exhaustive lecture on instruments of monetary policy, we will study this thing in great detail, everything in detail. And how do I teach you this in detail? Because this is almost the bread and butter of UPSC. UPSC will never fail to ask a question from here. Come what may, they will ask a question from here. Guaranteed question from this box. And what is our approach going to be to study this? This is our approach. That's the diagram which I'll teach you in the class one day, not today, one day. When the right time comes, when I teach you banking or RBI, at that time I'll teach you this, and then I'll teach you these things. These are the diagrams which I use to teach all the interest rates. Through this we'll do dictation, understanding. Currently we are not ready to handle. Like open market operation I teach like this, monetary policy transmission I teach like this. But we are currently not ready to handle it. Why? Because we don't have the basic ideas of the things. For example, see, there is always one question which everybody asks me wherever I go to teach economics. The one question is, whenever somebody says interest rate, which rate sir? Lending rate or deposit rate? Right? So one day I will teach you that what is the meaning of lending rate, and I have got a big diagram for this. And then one day I'll teach you this, where I'll tell you what are the different type of interest rate that India has. All the rates to be discussed in great detail. But this is not a part of today. The reason being that it can only be studied when I teach you one concept called as money supply. And for that, we need to start banking. So I have to teach you money supply, I have to teach you money demand, I have to teach you credit creation of a bank. So how does credit creation takes place? What is high powered money? What is the money base? When I teach you all these things, then we will return back to something called as monetary policy committee. And that day I have to teach you that whenever certain things are done by monetary policy committee, if they fail to achieve certain targets, where are they supposed to report? What is the role of parliament in that? What is the role of government of India? And why they can also be penalized in a certain way. So these are the things that we can examine only when we go into great detail. So I'm just cutting it short today because today we are not doing banking. But I showed you this so that somewhere at the back of your mind it will be there that yes, there will be a time when we have to get into those details also. And trust me, these are not optional things, these are meant for UPSC GS only. Because all the names that you saw, no, MSF, standing deposit facility, repo rate, reverse repo rate, all this, everything is a part of UPSC. Yes, we will do it in a very subtle manner, through more diagrams, through storytelling. In optional, you convert all these things into mathematics. But in GS, we do it in a very light manner, just like we did stagflation, same approach. So we'll follow that. Now, please come back. I told you I have to do inflation targeting with you first. So how do we do the inflation targeting? Where is the monetary policy committee? See this please. Please write inflation. What is the last sentence I dictated? So inflation, GDP. Oh, thank you so much. So all the stands done. Thanks. So now guys, please write inflation targeting in India. Inflation targeting in India. Inflation targeting in India. Now please write. MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, has a mandate to follow inflation targeting in India. To follow inflation targeting in India. Under this framework, the MPC decides upon a target inflation rate, in the bracket please write currently 4%, close the bracket, along with a tolerance limit of plus minus 2%, full stop. MPC achieves inflation targeting with the help of instruments of monetary policy. Like qualitative and quantitative monetary policy. Now please draw this. Bacho, see, if somebody will ask you, beta, what's inflation targeting? Tell them this is our target rate of inflation, which is 4%. That's fixed by RBI. But then RBI is very smart. RBI says a 4% inflation, exact 4% is not possible because we are not doing physics and mathematics. This is society. There might be internal factors, external factors. So RBI says if it goes up to 6%, plus 2%, it says it is within the tolerance limit of India. Why? because they have said that we have done one survey and based on that we have understood that Indian society can accept maximum up to 6% in comfortable manner. If it crosses 6%, they are saying that it becomes dangerous because there is a low income group also. Then they are saying that the minimum inflation that we should take in India is up to 2%, because they are saying if we go below 2, then producers will be hurt. If we go above 6, then society will be hurt. This is purely based on their survey, which means logic is survey and observation. And then RBI says this will remain valid till 2026. And RBI said in 2026, we will do the same survey again at all India level and we would try to change if required. So this diagram we have to draw. Already drawn. Very good speed. Now, you understand that there is a problem here and there is a good thing also. What is the good thing if RBI is following inflation targeting? It's very transparent. Everybody knows what we are doing. It's very flexible because it gives you a tolerance limit also. It's predictable also. We know that if inflation reaches close to 5%, RBI will start to follow qualitative monetary policy and quantitative monetary policy to bring it back, and government will follow contractionary fiscal policy to bring back the inflation, or administrative policy, which means it becomes more predictive. We know what the government will do because we know that if inflation reaches here, what is the government trying to do? So these are the positive things. But then what is the negative thing? The negative thing is it's rigid. That's number one. Which means, yeah, it says up to 6% it is comfortable for everyone. Come on. It's India. We have different layers of society. You ignored it. That's number one. Number two, second problem, big problem. Whenever Monetary Policy Committee decides that this will be the range of inflation, now imagine that the inflation happens because of monsoon. And what have we just mentioned? That we try to control inflation through qualitative and quantitative monetary policy. Really, India is having that kind of inflation which can be controlled through repo rate and reverse repo rate all the time? No. We are having supply side inflation also. Supply side means cost push, structural inflation. What about that? Where is it captured? Because you are giving the mandate to monetary policy. Monetary policy does not decide fiscal policies of India. Monetary Policy Committee only decides repo rate. Because for monetary policy, even though government is present there, but why is the government present there? To help the RBI decide the repo rate in such a way that it doesn't hurt growth. But in the Monetary Policy Committee, fiscal policies of India are not discussed. Only one thing is discussed: how to use repo rate to control inflation and maintain growth. But taxation policy not discussed in Monetary Policy Committee. Taxation policy is discussed in Parliament, in the annual financial statement, which we call as budget. In every budget, bill is introduced that what should be the rate of tax, etc., etc. Which means that in Monetary Policy Committee, the limitation is they look everything from the prism or angle of this monetary policy, that everything is monetary, everything can be controlled through repo rate, which is not correct in India. And I had taught you when I taught you WPI and CPI, absolutely. And I had taught you when I taught you WPI and CPI that there is a rate in India called as all India level of inflation is measured through one rate, one measure of inflation, which is all India measure of inflation, policy measure of inflation. What is that measure of inflation which is used for policy purposes because of Dr. Rajan? CPI? CPI headline. CPI headline, I had given you a dictation yesterday that CPI headline is called as the policy measure of inflation. So this 4% is what CPI headline. This 6% CPI headline, this is CPI headline, which means if somebody will ask you which measure of inflation is used for inflation targeting, the answer is CPI headline because of Dr. Rajan. So he said that CPI headline should, why? Because it is for all India purpose. So we can't use CPI rural and urban. All India means everything included. So it has to be CPI headline. So inflation targeting is happening in India through CPI headline. And the funny part about inflation targeting is despite the fact that in Monetary Policy Committee, government is also present through 3 members, yet inside Monetary Policy Committee, only one thing is discussed, which is repo rate. That's the limitation. And everybody say, hey, repo, you are the best. You are the Superman. Now, if inflation is happening in India because of bad roads, they will say, let's change repo rate. Why? So that's the limitation. Now, because Government of India says, I can't let anybody control my fiscal policy. Because if you control my fiscal policy, then what is the meaning of government and parliament, right? So they want separation of power. But they also want to sit with RBI. So understand the problem. I want to keep myself safe. Don't touch upon taxes and subsidy, but I will interfere. When you make repo rate changes, I will sit there. But RBI is autonomous. Are you understanding the problem? So which means that I have every right to ask you how you are going to celebrate Diwali. But if you ask me, sir, how are you celebrating Diwali? I'll say, sorry, I won't tell. Are you understanding the problem? Don't ask me how am I celebrating Diwali. I'm going to celebrate Diwali exactly the way you are going to celebrate. I'll make amazing questions for you. Right? So that the real crackers and the bomb will happen in the class after the Diwali holidays. Then we'll throw all the bombs here, missiles, in the form of MCQ number 1, biggest missile. MCQ number 2, BrahMos. MCQ number 3 and 4, something else. S400. So these are the things that we are going to do. Yes, your friend is saying last question, atom bomb. Shock after Diwali. Which shock? Supply shock, stagflation. Right? So guys, did you understand the limitation and the good side? Dekho, if you become neutral, you will see these things. This is my biggest concern for Monetary Policy Committee. I don't know, I mean, articles are not written on this. Maybe someday we'll write the article here. That boss, you are sitting in this committee and you are saying, we will manage inflation. Understood, thank you so much. How? Repo rate. But inflation of India is mostly supply side. What will you do here by sitting? Basically, I want to know, what will you do here? And then you will say, finally, we have taken a decision to control inflation. Yeah, but pulses price are rising. What about that? Repo rate. Through repo rate, you control pulse price. How? That's the limitation. Please write that. MPC, let's write facts in bullet forms. Fact number 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes. One of your online friend has said, that's the reason, sir, Dr. Urjit Patel resigned. Likh lo. Fact number 1. I know you might feel I'm wasting your time, but 10 seconds I have to speak on this because I'm a big fan of Urjit Patel. Urjit Patel actually was a bachelor, and when he became, I'm not trying to promote that. Rajan is very angry. He's saying, why did you say this, sir? I have other plans. So, Dr. Urjit Patel is a bachelor even now. When he became RBI governor, Government of India made an offer to him that we are going to give you 6 different cooks from different parts of India so that they can cook different cuisine for you. He said, not required, because I survive on simple things, dhoklas, etc. Simple. He's from Gujarat. He said, I'm simple. I don't need anything. They said, we will give you 12 assistants. One to do this, one to... I said, no, one person. Just one person. So they told him, sir, we have a big bungalow for RBI governor. He said, give me a small one where I can stay. There is nobody else in my life. Simple. One person, he said, I have only work to do. One office and one room to stay. Whole day I am in RBI only. So he is the one who consumed the least resources of the Government of India. And he gave up almost everything. When he became the governor, he said, I don't require it. We also have such people in the society. Can you believe it? And these things are not even highlighted. So I thought that we'll share this with you. I am deeply interested in people's personal life. I mean, economists. Don't take me wrong. Stocky says you are a stalker. But yes, when I see some good policymakers, I stalk them just to see how they are living their life, because to achieve greatness, you need a certain thing. You need certain qualities in you. So I'm just trying to analyze what are the kind of personality traits these people have so that they are able to achieve more than an average individual. Because we are all same, muscle and bone. But why some people are able to achieve little more? Because they compromise some other things in life. If you make the right compromises and if you know what to compromise, you will definitely achieve what you want to achieve. But you can't have both. You can't have this. You will have to bring it down to go there. What do you need to bring down? That is the biggest question. So, correct. So that's why huge respect for this man. Now please write. First point, MPC uses CPI headline. MPC uses CPI headline for inflation targeting. Point number 2, inflation targeting has advantages like, please put a hyphen, like flexibility due to tolerance limit. Flexibility due to tolerance limit. You see, there is flexibility. In the tolerance limit, you can move. Flexibility due to tolerance limit, comma. Transparency. transparency. In the form of MPC announcements. Related to monetary policy. As well as predictability. As well as predictability, which means you can predict, as well as predictability. Predictability. How can you predict? So the moment inflation touches 6%, you can predict that now contractionary policy will be followed. Predictability. Next point. Next point. However, supply side inflation cannot be controlled. Supply side inflation cannot be controlled through MPC. Through MPC meetings. Through MPC meetings. Through MPC meetings. Please put a full stop. Next point. The inflation targeting range is also fixed till 2026, which makes it little rigid. In the sense of changing domestic and global situations. Domestic and global situation. Guys, I have a picture. I want to ask you a question. Have a look at the board. Guys, I told you that inflation cannot be studied separately. Inflation has to be studied with exchange rate market, because the moment you get control over exchange rate and balance of payment, and at the same time you are also understanding inflation, you will be able to almost enter into general equilibrium. So that in future, whenever I ask you that suppose India is selling more pens to USA, suppose India is exporting pens to USA, can you tell me what will happen related to inflation in India? Will inflation change in India? You can answer those questions in future. But if today I ask you the question that suppose India is selling a pen, what will happen to inflation? No idea. Because we have not studied exchange rate, dollar, rupee, rupee, dollars. And inflation cannot be studied in isolation. It has to be studied in general equilibrium framework. But to reach that level, we have to cover each step at a time. So the first step that we took was basics of inflation. Then we understood what is CPI, WPI, PPI, etc. The third thing that we did is we understood few extra things. For example, what is the meaning of business cycle, reflation, these things, stagflation, extra things. And then we studied something called as inflation targeting, though we did not get into details of monetary policy committee because that is meant for banking, but we touched upon it that okay, this is inflation targeting, this is monetary policy committee. Having understood all these things, now it is easy for us, we can directly jump and we can see what is the impact of export import. You would have noticed, you are smart kids, that when I told you the impact of inflation, I did not discuss export and import there. I was quite on that okay, export and import out. Why? There is a reason. Because to understand export and import, first you have to get control over one particular aspect, which is the most beautiful thing. What is that called as? That is called as exchange rate and balance of payment. Otherwise, we cannot understand what is the impact of inflation on that. Let me show you one question which is a shocker. I was not happy to see this question. I believe that this question should not have been asked in UPSC at all. That's my belief, but UPSC does not go according to me. So, see, let's read the question. With reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. This will give you an idea about the level at which we have to study. 2022, very recent question. An increase in nominal effective exchange rate, his name is big. Whenever I read this name, increases my heart rate and pulse rate. Look at the name, nominal effective exchange. First you have to understand what is exchange rate, then you have to understand what is effective, then you have to understand what is nominal. Not easy. Mostly if you ask people who are doing economics optional, ऐसे ही just test them. Go and talk to them and tell them that, can you explain what is NEER, NEER? They will tell you tomorrow. Right? So, and this question was asked in GS paper. So an increase in nominal effective exchange rate indicates appreciation of rupee. Wow. So an increase in real effective exchange rate indicates improvement in trade competitiveness. Second point. Third, an increasing trend in domestic inflation. See, mix of inflation and this. They won't ask you questions separately on inflation. I guarantee you this. So we have to practice these things. Is increasing trend in domestic inflation relative to inflation in other countries is likely to cause increasing divergence between near and rear. Wow. It takes time to understand what they are asking. And for that, these are the formulas. Without this formula, you cannot answer this question. So that's the formula of nominal exchange rate, real exchange rate, and this is nominal effective exchange rate, real effective exchange rate. These formulas have to be learnt in the class. Only then we will be able to understand. And there is one hidden concept to understand this formula. That hidden concept is called as SDR. What is SDR? SDR is given by IMF, which means anybody who does not understand exchange rate, anybody who does not understand IMF, and anybody who does not understand inflation cannot answer this question. And this is not the only question which was asked like this. The other questions of inflation were also similar. And multiple questions were asked. Since last 3-4 years, generally if you look at the paper is there with you, you can look at the paper. Generally the way they are asking question from inflation is like this only. They will mix it with something so deep that when you read the question only, it will go bonkers over it, like what to do, tangent. So how do you solve these kind of questions? You solve these kind of questions by practicing it in the class. So guys, I'm going to enter into something which you might feel is little complicated, but one promise from my side in all the topics, we will convert it into simple concept, but without compromising the quality, which means some basic level of formulas have to be there. If I don't teach you this formula, then essentially I'm trying to escape this entire thing. Without the formula, it is not possible to answer. So if you have to answer this, you have to do that. And we don't know what question will be asked in UPSC. Maybe some other question from the same formula will be asked. So we will study this. It will take time. Because if for me it doesn't take time, but since you are not exposed to this kind of mathematics, it might take time. And let me tell you, this is the mathematics which is done by mostly optional people, and sometimes the optional students also escape this. They don't do this. They say it's too much. But we will have to do it. So let's be ready. That's the question. But see what is the number of the PPT? It says 32 out of 33. We will reach there at the end. But first you have to tolerate those 31 slides. And then we will reach here and we will reach the level at which we can answer questions. That's why I'm not doing MCQ of inflation today, because if I start doing MCQ of inflation today, it will look very easy to you. How many items are there in the WPI basket? 697 items. How many items in CPI basket? 299. And UPSC will laugh at us. They'll say, beta, practice, but I will ask this. So let's not fool around. Let's be real. Let's take up the challenge. So let's come back. Answer one question, please. First, you please open a fresh page. It is called as exchange rate system. Exchange rate system. Please write. Exchange rate system. Exchange rate system. But you should be happy because I pointed out one habit of yours, online and offline. Wherever things are technical, you guys perform well. I know you will face a lot of difficulty in agriculture because it is easy. Right? And I know that you are going to rock it when it comes to BOP, exchange rate, capital market. I think you will be rock stars because these are complicated topics. In agriculture, I need to be careful with you because that is easy topic, and I have seen how you take up the easy topics. In easy topics, you become a little lazy. In difficult topics, you always give your best. I have seen that. So I think that it should be easy for you. Rate of exchange rate system in India. Exchange rate system. What is exchange rate? Let me show you a picture first. Fatafat, please tell me. I see. Look at the board and don't mind if I use certain kind of examples from real life which you might find odd, but I will use it. Now imagine you are RBI, and what has RBI done? RBI has printed this much of rupee everywhere. What would it lead to? Inflation. Inflation. Whenever there is too much of something, guys, please try to understand every word in a different way. Absolutely correct. Whenever there is too much of something, its value goes down. People stop to value it. And I give you the example. If you eat 20 chocolates, 21st chocolate will appear to be tasteless for you. But if you eat the first chocolate, you will feel so blissful. Second chocolate, godly. Third chocolate, heavenly. But that's it. Right? Fourth chocolate, you will say, no, that's it. Don't give me 4 chocolates, diabetes. Right? Up to 3 chocolates, heavenly. 4 chocolate, dangerous. You will say, skip it. Too much of something is bad. So, RBI has printed so much of currency. The problem here, because of so much of currency, is that there is a danger of inflation. Why? Everybody will walk on the streets and say, I have got cash, give me this pen, give me laptop, give me mobile phone. But suppliers cannot supply everything in one day. For supply, you need raw material. We don't have semiconductor chip. For supply, you need iron, steel, etc. But there is limited quantity. For supply, you need to produce, but workers are limited in numbers. Skilled workers are limited in numbers. How will you supply? So there are problems. Creating demand is easy, 1 minute. Give cash, demand created. Supply takes a lifetime. So whenever this situation is there in the economy, if you are the RBI governor and if you have to control it, what will you do? You will try to squeeze it, no? You will try to take out the rupee from here and you will try to bring it back to normal, this size. But how do you reduce the size? Which means that from here, you have to take this much money out. This much money out. How do you take this much money out? What are the methods? Contractionary. If you are RBI, contractionary monetary policy. Brilliant. Contractionary monetary policy. Tell me a few things that you will do. First of all, increase the repo rate. Brilliant. Increase the repo rate. Absolutely correct. Second, very nice. CRR, SLR, you will increase all these things. You will do all these things. Brilliant. I was looking for this point. But there is one problem. If you do these things, then the availability of cash will reduce after some time. Sorry, because people start going to the bank and then the bank tells no, rate has increased. It will happen after some time, but we need quick results. What will you do? Brilliant. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I saw your hand gesture. You mean bonds. So if you are RBI, what will you do? You will sell bonds. When you sell bond, you collect cash. Immediately cash is absorbed, which means you sell bonds. And this is called as open market operation. Good answer. See, complicated question, good answer. Easy questions, lazy answer. So good answer. What happened here? You took out this cash, size reduced, be happy. This was simple. Let's see what happens in the economy. Just keep this in mind. Now come back here. See, what is there? There's a nice picture for you. There are 2 words that you should note from here. I mean, don't note it, I'll dictate. The first word is called exchange market and the second is called exchange rate. See, I don't have a 80 rupee currency note. So imagine that this is a currency whose value is 80 rupees. There is a reason 80 rupees. So 80 rupee currency note is there. So imagine guys that there is a currency note. It's not 100, its value is 80. Aise imagine kar lo, imagine this. Now there is this pen which we will buy and sell all the time in our entire lecture. In 2-3 lectures, we will buy and sell the pen. Now see what is happening. There is this person who has the pen in India and you know that this pen is manufactured in MSMEs. Now this person is very excited, he wants to sell the pen, price of the pen 80 rupees. Right? Now there is somebody in US, this person wants to buy the pen. Buyer has to meet the seller. Now suppose everything is uploaded on Amazon portal. Amazon portal, this pen is uploaded and the price is mentioned 80 rupees. But this person abroad, he says, I want to buy the pen. So he sends a mail to this seller and says, Mr. Seller, can you please tell sir, how much dollars do I have to pay you? He says, I don't know. He said, I don't know. Because I'm just a manufacturer of the pen, I have no idea. You are complicating the situation. Sorry, I don't know. He says, but my currency is dollar. He says, yeah, my currency is rupee. And as you were saying, he says, I don't need dollars, I need rupee. Now they are arguing. Immediately, RBI comes in picture and RBI says, hold on, Dr. Shaktikan Das, hold on please, don't fight. What you need is you have to convert one currency into another so that there is no fight. How do you convert the currency? Two options. RBI has given permission to commercial banks of India, for example, SBI, SDFC, ICICI, Kotak Mahindra, all these commercial banks. So if this person, I'll tell you two methods. If this person through online mode approaches a commercial bank of India and says, hey commercial bank, can you please tell me today if I want to convert 80 rupees into dollars, right? So how many dollars is equal to 80 rupees? So that I can transfer that dollar to this guy. So this person is asking the commercial bank, I have to pay 80 rupees to India. So can you please tell me what is the equivalent of 80 rupees into dollars? So this commercial bank says $1. Second method of finding this out is you go to somebody called as currency dealer. You see, I have taken a real picture. It's available on internet only, but the picture is real. From Delhi, Dwarka. It is also available in Rajendra Nagar. It's a tourist area, Karol Bagh, Rajendra Nagar. That's why you see these kind of money changers. They are called as currency dealers. So if you go to them and ask them, for example, this person can contact them through phone number and say that I have to give 80 rupees to India. How many dollars can I get if I give 80 rupees? Right. So he is told that, sir, 80 rupees is equal to $1 currently. Then he says, why? So then everybody tells him that's a demand and supply. Because Indian economy is very normal. Hence the demand of Indian rupee is very normal. But US economy is top. So demand of dollar is very high. When the demand of something is very high, its value is very high. So in one hand, if you are keeping $1, it is so heavy, heavy that it is equal to 80 rupees. $1, 80 rupees are equal because US economy has a reputation. US economy is very strong and people are demanding dollar. Whenever something has great demand but limited supply, its value is very high. So $1 is treated like 80 rupees. And why the value of rupee is low? Because our economy is not very strong. And number two, nobody in the world demands rupee. So when you are not in demand, your value is not high. So because of that, this person gets to know that if he has to give 80 rupees to somebody, he can simply give $1 to a bank and the bank will send him 80 rupees. Or he can give $1 to this currency dealer and they will give him 80 rupees. So he calls him and says, you mister, I have two options for you. Either I convert my dollar in the international market called as exchange market. I will convert my $1 into rupee and transfer the rupee to you. If you want, I can do that. Or I can directly transfer the dollar in your account. You go to your bank and convert it because the current rate is this only. So he says, wait, let me check at RBI portal. Oh, if you go to RBI portal also this information is available. Yes. If you go to RBI portal, you will find that this information is available. A list of banks and list of currency dealers are available where you can go in India and change one currency into another. They are certified by RBI. So who gives them license? RBI. Who gives them license? RBI. So this system where one currency is changed into another is called exchange rate market. And what is the meaning of exchange rate? The meaning of exchange rate is what is the value of one currency, $1 in rupee. Example. Or what is the value of $1 into pound sterling. Or what is the value of $1 into, let's say, euro. So what is the value of one currency into another? That value is called as exchange rate. Which means exchange rate tells us what is the value of rupee in terms of dollars. It also tells us the status of rupee in the international market. So if as an Indian, if I want $1, I have to give 80 rupees. my status is not good. Because I have to give 80 rupees. Imagine if you go to a country like, let's say, Bangladesh. Bangladesh example, Bangladesh has to give 150 rupees, Bangladeshi rupee, to get $1. Their condition is even bad. So if you have to give higher currency from your pocket to get dollar, your condition is not good. Because I am giving 80 rupees for $1, my condition is not good. Ideally, I should give 1 rupee to get $1. But that's not happening. I am giving 80 rupees, bad condition. So whenever, listen to it very carefully, bacho, whenever you have to give more currency to get dollars, then we say that your domestic currency is valued low. It is undervalued. So we'll say that our currency is weak. What is the meaning of strong currency? If to get $1, you have to give less currency from your own pocket, that currency is called strong currency. Like for example, euro is a strong currency. Japanese yen is a strong currency. Chinese currency, renminbi, is a strong currency. Indian currency is a weak currency. Weak in sense of what? You have to give more of Indian currency to get $1. Hence we are weak. Can we become strong? Yeah, we can. If in the entire world everybody says, rupee, rupee, where are you? You will become strong. You are in demand. So if RBI stops printing money, an entire world says, rupee, we want you. Immediately rupee's bhav will increase, rupee's value will increase. This is called internationalization of rupee. So if government of India is able to convince everybody in the world that use rupee, then everywhere people will say, rupee, rupee, you are the best. And then immediately India will say, we'll see iPad, don't worry. Again, because there are so many factors. India will say that, hey, Indian rupee is being used everywhere. So now, if we need dollar, we will not give 80 rupee, we will give only 30 rupees. And if somebody selling dollar says, why 30 rupees, we'll say our rupee is also very strong. So there are many factors which decide, because I told you one point, that when the economy is strong, its currency is valued very high. When does the economy become strong? When the GDP is high, output is high, employment is high, geopolitically you are very strong, you have more gold, you have more properties, your agriculture, industry, service, everything is doing well. Are you seeing things now? That if you want your currency to be strong, it can't be simply that, everybody use rupee. Nobody will use rupee. For that, your economy has to become strong. There are so many fundas involved. So this chapter takes time to understand. Because all the fundas have to be examined one by one. We can't jump. But I just gave you a flavor. That if somebody says, suppose in the lecture you ask me that, sir, how to internationalize rupee? This can be done only when we have completed the entire chapter. Then we will look back and say, now you understand how to internationalize. In the beginning, we can't. In the beginning, we can only understand basic things. That if India is doing great, our rupee will be valued. If you are not doing great, everybody will kick us out and say, bye India. Please write. And don't worry, it has just started. Like every chapter, first I'll take you to absolute basics. You might feel a little bored in the basics, but those of you who are just starting economics, for you it is required. And then in 1 or 2 lectures, I'll take you to the highest level. You have to leave? Okay, no problem. But you cover it through the video, huh? So please write exchange rate. Please write the meaning of exchange rate. Likhe. Exchange rate shows the value of one currency in terms of another. Exchange rate shows the value of one currency in terms of another. Value of one currency in terms of another. Example, it shows the value of dollar in terms of rupee or rupee in terms of dollar or rupee in terms of dollar. Rupee in terms of dollar. Note, please write a note. Exchange rate also shows the global value of a currency. The global value of a currency. Example, $1 is equal to, you write it please, it will help you before prelims. $1 is equal to 80 rupees. That means rupee is weak. It's a very simple way of writing. I know real life will be more complex, but it's okay. $1 is equal to 80 rupees, weak rupee. $1 is equal to 30 rupees. The value of rupee has increased, means rupee has become more valuable. Basic idea, absolute basic. Now please write exchange market. Please write exchange market. Okay, it is an arrangement. It is an arrangement under which one currency is converted into another. One currency is converted into another. Example, it can be done through banks. It can be done through banks or currency dealers. Currency dealers. It can be done through banks or currency dealers. Please write a note, bachcho. Write a note. And please write. RBI is the regulator of currency in India. RBI is the regulator of currency in India. RBI is the regulator of currency in India. Please put a full stop. So what did you see here? I told you that initially we will be little normal, later on we'll pick up pace. So what is the meaning of exchange rate? So if you want $1, how much rupee do you have to provide? This is called exchange rate, which means $1 is equal to 80 rupee. Now what is the meaning of exchange market? It is an system, it is an arrangement under which you either go to a bank or a currency dealer to convert one currency into another. But there is a problem. The problem is that how do you know that $1 is equal to 80 rupees? I said that you know it through demand and supply in the global market. But was the world always like this? That through demand and supply $1 is equal to 80 rupees, etc. No, the world has undergone multiple changes in the method of calculation of one currency in terms of another, which means this exchange rate $1 is equal to 80 rupees. How do we arrive at this? To arrive at this, the world has undergone various stages, and currently we have a formula which is market based. Initially it was not market based. So what are the systems through which the global currency has been exchanged historically? That is what we have to study for UPSC first. So let me explain it in 30 seconds or 1 minute. You see what is written? Global exchange rate system. And what did I tell you? That currently we are following a system where demand and supply is deciding the exchange rate, which means currently we are roughly here, which means everything is decided by market. In fact, India is not following this also. India is following a distorted version of this, which is this. So to be able to understand what system India is following, look at what India is following. India is following one of the variants of this. So this is the variant which we twisted and we followed this, which is to arrive at the word market, you have to travel this distance first. So the world started from here, then we went here, then we went here, then we came here, then we came here, then we came here, and finally we are here. This is the system we have to follow. And these years that you see, these are the years which I have written as per India, because we are preparing for UPSC. That India followed this between this and this. India never actually followed this properly, so I have not written any year here. India then followed this, and then India started to follow this from 1993. Currently we are following this only. But it's a journey that we traveled. To be able to understand this journey, you have to draw this flowchart. Because one question can be asked in UPSC, discuss the evolution of exchange rate system in India, or discuss various types of exchange rate systems in the world. Then you will have to write. Please write. Discuss the various exchange rate systems used globally. Used globally. Question number 2. Discuss the evolution of Discuss the evolution of exchange rate system. Discuss the evolution of exchange rate system in the world as well as India. Done? Just draw this flowchart. I won't be starting this flowchart today because if I start, I'll have to complete it because the story is connected. Can I show you a picture so that you understand why I won't start it today? It's not possible because this is what I'll teach you actually. This is my plan to teach. I can't teach it in one go because this is exactly how it has to be learned. It will take time. So you just draw this so that tomorrow when we come, we can start it in a proper way. So please write this. And in the first lecture like tomorrow, we'll be little normal. Our speed will be normal because it's complicated. And then afterwards we'll pick pace. And the question from this topic are, I don't want to scare you, but the questions from this topic are very technical. To break down technicalities, one need to have a normal pace. Then only we can break it down. Otherwise it will haunt us. And the dictation for this topic also has to be good because later on you have to revise also. And please don't match this content with any textbook, etc. because I have seen the dates given in most of the textbooks, many textbooks are wrong actually. These years are mentioned in a wrong manner. And some of the textbooks are writing that first and second is same. That's not correct. So please follow this, what we are doing in the class. So the first is called as gold exchange rate, 1870 to 1944. You understand Second World War. So first is classic gold standard, 1870 to 1940. That's your World War time. And then gold standard regime, 1914 to 1944. And then you have Bretton Woods era, 1944 to 1971. And then you have IMF, 1971 onwards. 1971 onwards. So I told you these years I have mentioned for India. Where? Exchange rate system. Exchange rate system. Bretton Woods ERS means exchange rate system. 1944 to 1971. This is what India followed. I have converted everything for India. And then 1971 onwards, this is what India followed. If I have to teach the same topic for the entire world, few things will change. Like this 1971, etc., few changes will happen. But for UPSC, we use the same thing for the world and India. So what is mentioned? ROE means rate of exchange. ROE, rate of exchange. Fixed rate of exchange or hard pegged. It is called fixed ROE, rate of exchange or hard pegged. Second is floating or market based. Floating or market based or free float. These are the names. Let me zoom it out. So floating, market based, free float, and next one is, you must have studied this somewhere pakka for sure. Liberalized exchange rate management system. It is also called as LUMS. Liberalized exchange rate management system. And next is managed float or dirty float. Don't go by the name. Managed float or dirty float. Done? Done? Ready for the session tomorrow? Because we have to study all this. But I promise you one thing, it will be interesting. It's not difficult. It's really lovely to study this because it will give you great idea about RBI. Because in everything I'll bring RBI. Ab dekho, guys, let me tell you how simple this is, just to motivate you for tomorrow so that you come in the class. You see, aise dekho, it looks very heavy, but look at the explanation part. So that's one explanation. Where is heaviness here? There is nothing. It looks difficult, it's not. And look at the second explanation. That's your types of exchange rate followed in India. That's it. But there is a bro code. Only you and I will understand what is written. So if anybody gets this picture, it's meaningless. They'll throw this in the dustbin. They'll say, what is this rubbish? So that's your exchange rate system of India. And the third diagram, which is the boss of all diagrams, that is this diagram. So anybody who understands all this, this is your appreciation, depreciation part. It's so easy. So don't worry, we'll make it super easy, but then your participation will be required tomorrow when we come back. Which slide? You have not written. Why? Oh, you are still writing? तो स्पीड बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. You'll have to increase the speed. See you tomorrow. Done. Take care. No, but we have option this module. I know I have a class.
For 7:30 batches, it was on the portal that holiday will start from 2 p.m.
2 p.m. No?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a class. Thank you so much and good day. So obviously we have a class. There is no, discussion on that. Diwali, I'll tell you tomorrow. Because if I tell you about Diwali today, I know you will not come tomorrow. So, right? So, okay, done, Sucheta. We'll do that. So tomorrow we have a class, normal. And tomorrow I'll tell you about what are the Vajiram off days that they have decided. So because if it's off in the office, the computer system will not work because the team will not be there. So I can't do anything in that. All right, noted? Cool. So guys, see you tomorrow then. Today I know it was not a heavy class, so you can simply revise. Tomorrow will be also a very light class. Next class might be slightly rich in content. No, I don't take optional classes. Right? Exciting chapter because I have wondered why. Oh, your friend is, I'm so happy to, your friend is saying that, sir, I have always wondered why $1 is equal to some amount of rupee. I always used to wonder, so this would be an exciting chapter. Trust me, this would be one of your favorites. Once you complete the chapter, you will understand the real economy. Every time foreign investment will happen, money will go, you will say, acha, I know it. So this is very empowering chapter. So start enjoying the process, you will really learn more. After Shivans, so Shivans, let me not tell you because if I tell you what topics I'll teach after this, I know you will not come to the class. So let that be a surprise. Let me act like a calibrated person. Right? So I'll tell you that something will happen, but what will happen, I will not tell you. Right? Thank you so much and have a good day, guys. Thank you. Video मिला? Handout?
16 minutes.
देख लो अच्छा ही होगा. The first half an hour of the video you don't even need to watch because I've already taught you that in the class. So in that video which you got, you only have to watch that part where I have taught pension schemes, and that is hardly half an hour. So if you watch that video, pension schemes will be super clear to you. Watch the video. 1.5 related to yes, PB, we'll see. Whatever, guys, if I teach something in your syllabus, consider it to be important for UPSC. If I don't teach something, forget about it. Thank you so much. You need to have that faith. Thank you and good day. Thank you so much.